evening. I'd like to reconvene the board meeting for Mount Daigle Unified School District for September 23rd, and I would ask that you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm first going to apologize for us being late with our regular session. Our closed session seems to take us longer, so we go as fast as we can. Thank you for your patience. We're going to do roll call, so we'll start Mr. Lawrence.
Here.
Ms. Mason.
Here.
Ms. Mayo.
Here.
Ms. Cound.
Here.
And Ms. Ricky, I'm not here. And before we do anything else, Mr. Lawrence made a big point of telling us that it's his birthday. So now everyone will know. I brought you a little something. So I didn't bring cake because I know we're not supposed to eat cake. So happy birthday.
I am incredibly honored. Thank you. You can wear that right. This is actually a twofer. So today is my daughter's birthday. October 14th is mine, so I'll get double use out of it. So I will bring. So thank you.
I thought you were making a big point. You had to come to a board meeting on your birthday.
The next one. I do, but it's the next one.
All right.
So thank you.
So I expect you to wear that.
I can wear it all day next time. So I'm set. Thank
I was
you.
close. At least I wasn't late. Okay, I'm going to report out on the closed session. I'll look at my notes here. So, item 3.1. Okay, well, 7.1. Was item number 1 was discipline, dismissal, release, or reassignment of public employee, Government Code Section 54957B1, 2 cases. Case number 1, we received information, and in case number 2, we also received information. 7.2, which was 3.2, anticipated litigation, conference with legal counsel pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9B, 3 cases. Case number 1, we received information and gave direction. In second case, we received information. In the third case, we received information and gave direction. 7.3 is 3.3 negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives regarding represented employees pursuant to EERA, Government Code Section 3549.1. Agency negotiators, Dr. Robert Martinez, Lisa Murphy Oates, Roy Combs. Agencies, Medea, DMA, MDSBA, CSEA, CST Local 1, and Teamsters Local 856. And again, we received information and gave direction. So thank you. So now we go to public comment. The public may address the board regarding any item within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education for Mount Daigle Unified School District that is not on this agenda. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes each, or a total of 30 minutes for all speakers, or the 3-minute limit may be shortened. If there are multiple speakers on any one subject, the public comment period may be moved to the end of the meeting. Speakers are not allowed to yield their time. And we always like to add that if this is your first time at a board meeting, your first time making public comment, that it's important for you to know that our job in public comment, we're governed by what's called the Brown Act, and our job is to listen carefully. And so, but we're not allowed to respond specifically. We can ask clarifying questions, or we can refer you to our superintendent for further assistance, but don't be offended if we're not responding to you directly and just looking at you, because that's our job. So, okay. So we have first Maria Trigueros.
I'm support. Hi, I'm a retired SEA special assistant, and I retired in 2013. I worked 22 years for the district. I've been subbing up to now, and I have received a letter from CalPERS telling me that I may have violated the Public Employees Retirement Law and the Reform Act of 2013 for getting paid for holiday hours. And I found out recently that I was not put on the retiree substitute list until 6 months ago, and I retired in 2013. So I've been paid holiday pay for those years. And I am, I'm kind of upset that I feel like this is like a blatant mistake by the district. And I feel like my whole retirement is resting on this. If I should violate this again. I have to work with the district now to repay. They audited me in the year 2015, 2016. So I need to repay the district that amount, which is going to be very hard for me. As being on limited funds, and this, the pay I get here helps me. So I'm quite upset about that. I don't feel it's my fault that I have to pay all this back from the state to the district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Laura Galvin.
Good evening. My name is Laura Galvin. I have worked for the Mount Diablo Unified School District since my two sons were in elementary school 30 years ago. I have worked at the Riverview Mental Health Collaborative Program for 10 years, 9 years at the Alliance Mental Health Program on the Olympic campus as a special ed assistant, and retired from there in August 2013. I started subbing as a special ed assistant in April of 2014. I recently received a letter from CalPERS dated August 30th, 2019, stating I worked over my required hours exceeding 24.60 hours as of June 2015. I never received a letter from district with warning of approaching limits on my hours and was not aware of the limitations. Also in this letter, they discovered I received additional compensation holiday hour pay from 2014 to 2015, and also 2016 to 2017. In another letter to Mrs. Kavanaugh, stating I am responsible to pay back these totals that I have not been informed with amounts due by August 30th, 2019. I feel this is unjust, and I was never informed verbally or in written form that substitutes had any limitations on with holiday hour pay. If district can prove they did otherwise, but if not, they are doing an injustice to the dedicated substitute employees of the Mount Diablo Unified School District. Thank you for your time as I bring this very concerning issue to this board meeting tonight.
Thank you. Amy Hines Shucky. I can't read your writing, the last part, I'm sorry.
That's enough. It's not a problem at all.
Dear Superintendent Mr. Martinez, Board President Durkee, esteemed MDUSD board members and honored staff. My name is Amy Heinscheich and I am a parent in Clayton, California. I am speaking today to ask you to please submit a competing resolution to the Contra Costa County Office of Education prior to their October 16th, 2019 meeting, strongly opposing the charter renewal of the Clayton Valley Charter High School. The first reason is due to lack of fiscal responsibility. As you are acutely aware, the Clayton Valley Charter High School has an outstanding debt to Mount Diablo Unified School District of $856,846.49. That does not account for the ongoing attorney's fees that are constantly being incurred since the school's inception due to the long belabored legal battle. They are also currently hoarding a $17 million reserve fund for a school whose entire budget is only $26 million. That is a 69% reserve. The second reason is a failure to serve special education students. Only 6.5% of the charter high school's population has special needs, while MDUSD average is 11.5%. The charter high school frequently abrogates its responsibilities to educate all students and forces special needs students out to the neighboring schools. That is not in keeping with education for all. The third reason is continuing on with past mistakes from the prior executive director, Dave Lindsay. in his era. It is a well-known history that the prior executive director, Dave Lindsay, and his wife embezzled hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars despite assurances from the charter school that those mistakes would never happen again. We now know that the original attorneys have stayed on as advisors and there has not been a change in attorneys. One firm has been severed from their contract, but the original attorneys have stayed. Additionally, several charter board members who were supposed to be overseeing the finances when Mr. Lindsay and his wife embezzled the funds are still on the board. We understand that some changes to the board are scheduled to be implemented in December of this year, but that is much too little and much too late. The fourth reason is lack of democracy and accountability. The charter board has employee representatives, which is a conflict of interest, and will continue to do so even after the board reforms are implemented in December. The fifth reason is the impact to the broader MDUSD community at large, and I cannot emphasize this enough. As you are well aware, school districts are funded by ADA, and for every student who is siphoned off to attend the charter high school, the rest of the schools within the school district suffer. And I'm here to say, not on our watch. Not on our watch can a greedy institution take funds from students and ignore everyone and everything around it and just get a pass. Not on our watch. Please pass a resolution to stop this charter from moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Annie? She's a one-name person.
That's a good job. Something else for you. Something the Parkland mother said about banding suspension. Superintendent Martinez, board and audience. I have two reasons. The first one is what happened to my retirees, and you just heard two of them that has happened to them. One didn't show up tonight. She's even in worse shape because whenever we did the cutbacks, and when was that? 2011, 12, whenever it was. Resource from 5 hours to 3 hours. Some of my people had to retire. Her retirement does not even pay her medical. She has to pay CalPERS $161 on top of the little bit of retirement she gets. And she's gonna owe money. This is not right. This is completely, totally the district's fault this happened. The paperwork you have said it came in 2013, 6 months ago. My folks were put into this, they're called CalPERS annuitants. They cannot get holiday pay. In your handbook, it says subs get holiday pay. Wrong, that's not true if you're a CalPERS retiree. This happened in Livermore, and they did the right thing, and I can tell you how they paid it back. And it isn't a gift of public funds. So you need to hear that, and you need to do that. These people don't have money to pay back this district, and if we have another audit, say, well, let's say 16, 17, they're gonna owe money again. They're gonna owe money up until 6 months ago. So let's hope we don't have more audits, but who knows? And every time this district makes a mistake, you get fined by CalPERS. So all the money you're spending there could be going for raises and stuff for the kids. But we're spending it because of the mistakes we make here. My second reason for being up here is we've been in reopener negotiations since July of 2018. I'm still there. My contract expired July of this year. I can't even get into my successor contract because I can't get out of my reopener contract. And that's because they keep canceling and canceling and canceling our negotiations. Well, we've got one Wednesday, but then they canceled the two we had in October. I think they were the 8th and 4th because the lawyer can't be there. Well, guess what, folks? We haven't had a lawyer in 3 or 4 or 5 years. So all of a sudden, they've got to cancel my negotiations. We haven't had one up until now. What's the big deal? It's not like we got a little love to sign something, but I don't see that happening. I want my negotiations back. I've got to get them back. I can't even start my successor, which I should have started already, because I'm in reopeners for 1.5 years. So please tell them to give us back those 2 dates. They can give him notes. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Langley.
Superintendent, President of the Board, board members, public. I'm not here to talk about an item on the agenda. I'm here to talk about the agenda structure. As I was looking over the agenda, I noticed that item 18.0, communications, was moved to the very end of the evening. Now, the past couple of meetings I've been to, nobody has spoken, so I can't believe it was moved to save time. And so it must have some other reason. By the way, you forgot to change the language on it, so it says it's right after public comment. So you may want to clean that up. The only reason I could think that it's at the end is that maybe you don't want to hear from your DLAC or your other organizations or your unions at a time when they may have some information for you. So it's been put at the end of the agenda when most of the people aren't paying attention. I doubt that would be the case. So it must have just been a clerical error. And since the language is still that it's after public comment, maybe we could put it back there. Lastly, if it is to save time, at one time, board member reports, as interesting as they are, were at the end of the meeting. So members of the public that came to see about something that was on the agenda for consent, I notice a lot of principals have to hang around until their school's okay, or something on the business action, they can leave a little bit earlier. So if time is the issue, why don't you put the organizations back where they were, and you can move other reports that may not be as riveting to the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rojda Rahim with Jessica Clark. Jessica, I have you on two places here.
Yeah, we put in 2 comment cards, but we thought maybe we could do a little back and forth. We'll try and keep it close to 3 minutes if possible. So I am Jessica Clark. I'm here representing the Mount Diablo Unified School District Education Foundation, and I'm here first of all to introduce myself as the new VP of Programs for the foundation.
And I'm not as tall, but my name is Moshe Rahim, and I'm the secretary for the Education Foundation. Just wanted to kind of talk about who we are, what our mission is, and what our objectives are before I pass it along to Jessica. Despite our foundation being relatively new, the foundation has provided some amazing programs in which Jessica will provide that information. Our foundation recognizes and commends the dedicated teachers, principals, and superintendent that they're doing their best to provide resources and education for the students' future. But we also recognize that the current state of funding for public schools is not sufficient, and that's where we step in. So our mission statement is to promote excellence in the education experience of students who attend schools governed or authorized by the Mount Diablo Unified School District. With that being said, our objectives are 3. 1, sponsor educational opportunities, to provide funds and resources that provide STEAM, and collaborate with businesses or trades for alternative educational, career, technical training of students. With that being said, I'm going to pass it along to Jessica.
One other thing to note is that we are an all-volunteer organization as well. So in front of you have a copy of our new annual report. Our first year for the foundation was the 2017-2018 school year, and we've just wrapped up the 2018-19, so this is our 2nd annual report you have in front of you that kind of summarizes a lot of the work that we've been doing over the past year. To kind of highlight some main points from that, one of the big things we did this year from our initial year is we tripled our program spending to over $45,000 to provide STEAM opportunities for large numbers of Mount Diablo Unified School District students all over the district. And if you actually look at the back, there is a map that shows all the schools that we reached this year in some capacity. And then our first focus was the arts in the spring of 2018, we launched our largest illustrated chalk art story. We brought in a professional, well-known chalk artist, Mark Wagner. At this point, we are at 22 of the 30 elementary schools, and we are hoping to complete all of the schools by this winter. We are in the process of scheduling those. We were also featured on KPIX recently for this effort, and that was a pretty exciting experience. Gregory Gardens was the elementary school there. It was a great day. We also expanded our Art in Action program that brings classroom boxes with art supplies and lessons that feature artists from all over the world. From 5 classrooms to 44 classrooms in 5 schools last year. And can we have a little bit more setting? Okay, thank you. And so we are also continuing to expand that this year with Wren Avenue is piloting it school-wide, which is our Arts Magnet school, and we're also doing some strategic planning there with them as well to kind of continue building on top of those 44 other classrooms in 5 other schools. We collaborated with the Center for Community Arts last year to bring Daniel Summerhill, who is a professional spoken word artist, to Mount Diablo High School as part of their day of service that they had, as part of their community service and cleanup day. And as part of that, they did justice-themed poetry writing and performances, which was a pretty exciting opportunity. Also, we sent 2 6th grade classes from Oak Grove Middle School, the entire 6th grade class, and El Dorado Middle School to Chabot to learn to be an astronaut in Mars. We're actually continuing that program again this year, but sending 8th grade classes who more closely align with the NGSS standards. And both of those classes are in talks with Chabot to get organized right now. And so and we're also doing professional development with those schools as well to make it a little bit more integrated in their curriculum. So that was 1,200 students there, and we also funded Bridget's math materials for the Sun Terrace STEM Magnet School as something that they were interested in. On page 4, you can see the results of our STEM survey. Initially, we had sent out an art survey to the entire district, parents, teachers, students, to gather kind of resources that are already being used in best practices at schools across our district. We did the same thing with science, and we've been kind of disseminating that information. We put it on our website for teachers to use freely, but we've also been using that to kind of inform the programs we've been designing. But our greatest goal is to work in collaboration with the superintendent and district staff to really help them meet their goals in the areas of STEAM. So we've already met earlier this year, and I'm hoping to continue that partnership to kind of build programs that are priorities for the district as well.
One last thing, if you haven't done so, sign up for the Break a Sweat for Education. It's October 5th. So if you haven't, sign up right now. Thank
So
you.
I just want to thank you very much. It was really interesting, and we look forward to continuing to get updates. So as Mr. Langley pointed out, by mistake, the communications agenda item was put much later in the agenda. It normally is sooner. But that's a spot that you can come share. You don't have to do it under public comment. You're not limited by time if you do it under that. So just so you know for the future, you could comment.
Great. Would be great if it was earlier. I'd love to tag on to that too. So. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Jim Keck. Yes. Mark.
Okay, good evening, Dr. Martinez, Board President Durkee, and fellow board members. My name is Jim Keck, and I am a teacher and athletic director at College Park High School. I am a graduate of College Park High School. In 1989, I played football with Ignacio Valley Athletic Director Mark Tran. My 3 boys attend College Park High School right now, and my wife is a current employee in the district since she moved here from Brooklyn in 1999. In short, I live in the community and am invested in the success of our students and schools. I'm addressing the board tonight hoping to open lines of communication surrounding solutions to ongoing issues and concerns at our site and others. When I bring up concerns, I do so from a solutions-based standpoint. I am not one to point out inadequacies and then walk away. On the contrary, I believe working diligently for solutions and working even harder to make these solutions work. The Mount Diablo Unified School District is experiencing budget constraints. We are shorthanded in M&O and in all departments. Our facilities are in need of repairs and improvement. As an athletic director, I put together a list of our current site concerns. Examples: gates without hinges, gates which fall on top of people, locks to the pool which need keys, and doors to facilities that need to be secured. They're now nailed shut because we had homeless people living in our facilities over the summer. I can email that list to each of you later tonight after the meeting. Work orders at College Park somehow have been in place for over a year. Simple maintenance. We have 80 plus outstanding work orders. Volunteer projects where we try to get the community involved have been filed with no progress at our site. Our current language for these projects state they will hear back on the progress within 30 days. Some we've been waiting for over a year for feedback on. We as athletic directors have offered solutions. We request a meeting with M&O to put together a maintenance schedule based on common sense, season starts, and game days. I have been on site at College Park since 1985. With input from our coaches, we could use on best serve our facilities. We have suggested that M&O and Teamsters have a set date each month. They meet to discuss volunteer projects. We would then know when we need to get our forms in, and that they would be decided upon at that date, and we'd hear back within 2 to 3 weeks, much like we do with our out-of-state or overnight trips for our student athletes. You guys get back to us within a timely manner. I want to be able to look at my neighbors, friends, community members with students attending schools in our district in the face and tell them we're doing everything in our power to make our sites and facilities better for our kids. When a current parent at College Park tells me she's on her 8th year as a team parent at College Park, has not seen any of the projects she'd hoped to see accomplished for her 2 daughters, that's very disheartening. Her daughter graduates this spring. I do point out the positive things M&O has gotten done the past few years: new track resurfaced, new tennis courts, and new hoists in our gym. Richard Jackson, Melanie Cosno, and crew are excellent. They work hard to get things accomplished with their limited resources. Please let me know how we can work jointly to get some of these projects and much needed facilities improvements done. Measure J is a long-term fix. I retire in 12 years. Right now we have parents and money waiting to get things done now. In 2001, if Dawn Block had not been vocal about her $500,000 donation to College Park to get a all-weather track at College Park, we would probably still be waiting for that track right now. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, so you only have like 30 seconds on, right? 'Cause he
Oh, we're
used to
together?
use them.
Oh, all right.
You've got to do it a team approach, so.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
go fast.
okay. Again, I scratched this. I think it's important to note that Jim and I, we understand working as athletic directors. We understand working with budgets. We understand the state that the district is in terms of budgets. We're not here to ask for more money. We're here to ask for better line communication so that we can do the projects correctly, and in the long term would save the district money, right? It's just, the track that was put in over the summer, I was overseas, but before I left, I tried to communicate with the point person at the district. I've been coaching track and field since 1991, so I felt like I kind of knew what a track should look like. Trying to save us money and doing it correctly this time. They kept on reassuring me that it will be all addressed, that it's in the contract, and at the end of the day, it was the same track that we had already received. So we're just wasting money by not communicating with the people on site, such as the athletic director, our coaches, who knows our facilities better than the district does. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
May I ask a clarifying question? Mr. Chen, you said that at the end of the day, it was the same track we'd already received. Are you referring to the prior older track?
Correct. Our finish line was, or is for some reason, I've only been at YB for 21 years, athletic director for 11 years. The previous athletic director okayed the plans to where the finish line is on the visiting side, right next to our neighbors. With every Saturday, with our CYL track and field meets and our home track meets, high school track meets, the gun's going off right next to our neighbor's home. Why can't we put it on the home side like every other school in the nation? But end of the day, it's in the same spot.
Did you say that was actually written into the contract?
That's what I was told. I made no months went by. The district, I believe, the board approved the new resurfacing track in spring. Jim and I were both not notified. We heard it through a third party. No communication was made to anyone on our campuses. No plans, master plans was presented to us. No meetings with the vendor, anyone from the district. No questions were asked what kind of things we should want or address. I took it upon myself to come up with a list of things I would like to see. And months would go by with no response. I finally get a response from someone before my trip, and they reassured me that they have my suggestions and it was all going to be addressed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Sarah Butler.
Hello, thank you. Good evening, board members and Superintendent Martinez. I'm Sarah Butler. Most of you know I am on the County Board of Education, but I want to say clearly in the beginning, I'm just here as an individual. I'm not speaking on behalf of the board. With that said, I'm here because I wanted to bring to your attention the Clayton Valley renewal timeline. There will be a public hearing on October 16th, and then a vote on that approximately a month later. And I was informed Friday that the city of Clayton had passed a resolution regarding Clayton Valley, and I was just initially surprised because they're a city council, and I thought, how much depth do they know about school, management, etc. And I realized in thinking about it that I hadn't heard anything from the Mount Diablo board or from any of you really individually in any kind of formal way. So I wanted to bring that to your attention and ask that you consider possibly doing a resolution or just making your thoughts known to the county board before we have to make a decision. And I identified some points that I wanted to raise to you. That originally, as many of you probably know, it was 2011 that the charter petition was before the Mount Diablo board, and it was denied here by a 4-to-1 vote. I looked up the reasons, and it stated it did not meet all the fiscal conditions. Thinking about what would be your perspective, and of course I want to hear from you, but it seems to me there's a lot of financial reasons why, how the Clayton Valley Charter impacts Mount Diablo in ADA money going away from the district and to the charter school. So, and I've identified some detail on that. There is, I looked at the last year's budget, $26 million in revenue to the charter school. It looks like approximately $24.5 million of that is public funds. So they're not all, of course, Mount Diablo students. I would love to know how many of the students are Mount Diablo versus elsewhere. I don't know that information yet. But any of those students, if the charter wasn't renewed, they would be back in your district. Obviously, that's a huge benefit financially. And there's many other reasons why there's been a lot of questions raised that are still not completely resolved, in addition to of course, the rent issue and the facility, since it is your facility that the school is using. I just wanted to encourage you to weigh in and make your voice known before we have to make a decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Sorry just as a clarification, Madam President, I wanted to ask, since I see that we do have our student reps here this evening. Okay.
So another mistake on the agenda. I don't know if you were relieved or disappointed, but we mistakenly didn't actually put you on the agenda, but we're gonna be on the agenda. So I don't know if you're looking at the agenda, but anyway. So no worries, we're getting to you. Thank you. We're gonna resolutions and public employee appointment, and then we'll have the student speakers, okay? Okay, so we are now to resolution number 19-20-18, Annual National Family Literacy and Adult Education Week, September 22nd through 28th, 2019. And I think we need to really talk about how you want to read them, if you want to comment.
It's your pleasure. I can read or
What
we
is
don't
about
have
that?
to. It is out there. I'll just speak briefly to it.
Yeah,
and
why
then
don't you
we'll
do
take-
that?
Right, so again, this particular resolution speaks to Adult Education Week, but really an emphasis on family literacy. So the week here occurs through September 22nd through September 28th, and it really speaks to the importance of family literacy, individuals working together, expanding their opportunities, and parent education, really using the process of education as a family unit within our educational systems to expand opportunities for our families to provide literacy.
I will entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move the board approve resolution 19/20-18 in recognition of the annual National Family Literacy and Adult Education Week, September 22nd through 28th, 2019.
Second.
Of course, I have to chime in a little bit. So we have some of our adult ed folks here tonight, quite a few of them. We have some, our staff, right? So we were talking about the fact that Mr. Lawrence had specifically, we're not doing this tonight, but specifically wanted to hear from students, so we'll do that in the future too. So thank you all for being here. I think Dr. Martinez said it well in terms of really stressing the family literacy, the value added to Mount Diablo Unified School District, which is something we're trying to make sure people understand and know. Mount Diablo gets it very well, so we want to make sure Sacramento continues to get it. So, all right, thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we are ready for a vote? We have a first and a second. All right, well, while we're waiting for that to come up, I want to introduce our students sitting on the dais here. Thank you, I'm sorry, I introduced you earlier, but this is our Ann from Northgate, right? So thank you for joining us. You can comment whenever you like. You don't get to vote, but you certainly can weigh in on anything. So just make sure I see that you want to make a comment. Thank you.
There's something going on.
Want me to voice vote on this one?
Should we move to voice vote?
Hold on a second. No, call for a vote. This is on the list. So this is Liz, but we're fine. So you call for a vote?
Yeah.
Okay, we gotta
Did you get the motion? Okay.
We need the motion first.
I moved it as adopted, as printed, sorry.
Okay.
Just the title.
Okay, now I'm doing call for the vote.
Yes, call for vote.
Okay.
Magic. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for being here. Okay, our next 9.2 is Resolution 19-20-19, the Anti-Bullying Awareness Month. Any comments about that?
Yes, simply again, October is National Anti-Bullying Awareness Month. The goal is to encourage communities to work together to stop bullying, cyberbullying, and increasing awareness of the problem across our school for all ages of children. So again, this is part of our LCAP plan. We want to make sure that all students will receive a high-quality education in a safe and welcoming environment. And so we advance processes of continuing to speak with children about their own experiences, connecting them to supports, allowing students to again learn from various forms of bullying, including cyber, verbal abuse or verbal bullying, physical exclusions of any individuals that may be lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, LGBTQ. We want to protect every student, and so that's what we're about.
Thank you.
Madam President, I move that we approve item 9.2, resolution number 1920-19, recognizing Anti-Bullying Awareness Month.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second, and we'll call for the vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Okay, so now we're on to our another fun part of our agenda, really public employee appointment. So 10.1, classified personnel, appointment of educational consultation and behavior management specialist. That's a really long title. Must be really hard work. Okay.
Yes, good evening. So we are bringing before you Samania Young. Samania, you're here in the audience tonight. There she is. Okay. So Samania is joining us as a native of Los Angeles and has built a career in Northern California for 15 years. She earned a bachelor's degree at Cal State Sacramento, Communication Studies. She has earned her master's in educational instructional leadership from Pepperdine University. In September, became a board-certified behavior analyst from the University of Massachusetts and has worked as a behavior specialist for Castro Valley Unified School District, serving students in special education, and for the Oakland Unified School District. She served as a clinical director with an in-home agency and creating individual programs for children with autism, was an educational coordinator with a local non-public school, and she's inspired to continue her career here in education. She has volunteered as a social skills instructor to children and at the Mind Institute as well. And so we're really happy to bring her forward in this administrative capacity.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Samania Young as the educational consultant and behavior management specialist.
Second. Okay, we have a first and a second, and we'll call for the vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0.
Samania, you want to? Oh. Come on up.
Hello, it's my first time addressing a board. I'm really excited about joining Mount Diablo Unified School District, and I'm really excited to be here and learn more about everyone addressing the board and listening to you all speak. And I feel really fortunate to be here, and I'm really thankful and excited to get started.
You have someone you want to introduce?
Yeah, that's my son Elijah. Good to be at Lake tonight.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have classified personnel appointment of human resources systems manager.
Yes, we're bringing before you Sandra Inouye, and Sandra is our new Human Resources Systems Manager. She comes to us with 20 years of experience in finance and accounting, has 10 years experience working in a public school district setting. Last 5 years, she's also worked in the Fiscal Services Department, managing multi-million-dollar budgets, so we've got some work for you here. We've got, she has bring a lot of skills in different departments and programs, school sites, as well as federal, state, and local grants. So she's thrilled to be kind of cutting her commute, but truly more thrilled about joining this passionate team in Mount Diablo Unified School District. So we're really thrilled to have Sandra get on board here and get in the HR department and start doing some work for us.
Madam President, I move that we approve the appointment of Sandra Inoue to the position of need the right piece of paper, to the position of Human Resources Systems Manager.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. We'll go to the vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0.
Good evening. It's also my first time addressing the board. President Durkee, Superintendent Martinez, I'm honored to be here, members of the board as well. Thank you for your vote of confidence. I look forward to working for Mount Diablo, the community at large, getting to know all the district staff and doing a good job. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to go to our student reports, and are you kicking us off tonight, or your reports? Okay.
Hi, good evening, President Durkee, board members, Superintendent Dr. Martinez, members of the board, Superintendent, council, members of the audience as well. My name is Arthur Yan. I'm the student representative from Northgate High School, and here are my peers.
My name is Eden Broussard, and I'm our ASB Vice President for this school year.
Hi, my name is Ashley Bird, and I'm the ASB Secretary Treasurer for this year.
And I am the ASB President. Yeah. So I would like to start off tonight by saying we started school in August, and we had our leadership class help direct all the traffic and help the parents out during our walkthrough. We also sold pre-orders for our new Bronco apparel. It was not as hectic as last year because we had this issue with our photos, so we didn't have our student IDs taken the same day, but we had it later that week. We also had back to school night, where our leadership class also directed the traffic, and we also gave maps to the parents and helped those who were lost within our hallways. There was actually a transformer that shorted out during our event, so half of our hallways and classrooms were without lights. So it's okay because everyone has phones and flashlights these days. It was a pretty good success. This week is our big homecoming week, so we are selling our tickets for $35 with the ASB sticker and $40 without. We are ecstatic to say that we've sold over 500 tickets as of right now, and sales end tomorrow night. Our school dance is this upcoming Saturday. So, and during this week we would have different spirit things, and each class has a different spirit day, so we would dress up. This year our seniors dress up in togas to represent Hercules the movie. Kind of breezy today, and the seniors voted on 8 boys and 8 girls to represent the homecoming court during the football game. They will stand on a red carpet and dress up and wear sashes as well. Their parents will also be attending and walk with them down the aisle while the announcer says their name and who's accompanying them. Our theme for our homecoming is out of this world, so our gym would be scattered with decorations of planets and rockets, and we would be giving glow sticks to our guests and stuff, and we would also provide some free refreshments. So the Friday leading up to our homecoming dance is pretty busy for all of us. We have a homecoming rally, and each class is able to participate in the rally by creating skits or dances that revolve around their spirit days, and each class has to host their own practice times in order to, you know, perfect their skits for the rally. And after school on Friday, we have a tailgate leading up to the football game. And we have food trucks there, like grilled cheese, gyros, and frozen tart. And our leadership class is also selling goods as well to fundraise for the class. The football game is against College Park, and during the halftime is when we will be announcing our homecoming kings and queens. And in the future, we would also have our senior picnic where we would go to Boomers. It's on October 27th. And also, we would be participating in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, where we usually design like a shirt, and then we would like sell it to the.
Great, thank you for being here. Okay. You want to decide who's up next, or do you all know who? Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, President Durkee, board members, Superintendent Dr. Martinez, members of the Superintendent Council, and members of the audience. My name is Ulysses Rojas. I'm the student representative from Ignacio Valley High School.
My name is Brian Acevedo, and I'm the ASB Vice President from Ignacio Valley High School. So, we started our year off with the Welcome Back rally, as we do every year. And this year we had a Pixar-themed rally. Am I too close to this? The students seemed to really enjoy it, and there was a lot of participation. And we have our next rally this Friday before our football game. And this homecoming rally we have a Hollywood theme, and our Spirit Week this week is also Hollywood themed. Last weekend, our band and cheer team performed at the Walnut Festival. And finally, our very first pep rally was 2 weeks ago, and we had music, games, a cheer performance, and the football team led students in a cheer.
For the senior events, we've had Senior Sunrise and Senior Picnic. Senior Sunrise had a very good attendance, and Senior Picnic, we went to Boomers last Thursday. We had a lot of good responses from the students. Everybody enjoyed it. Everybody had a really good time, even me. I loved it. For our football games, we've had 4 football games so far, undefeated. Go Warriors. And we have our homecoming football game. It's against Mount this Friday. And then the day after that, on Saturday, we have our homecoming dance. And that'll be all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you. Okay, who's up next?
Hello. So good evening, President Durkee, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Martinez, Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Robert Santa Maria, and I'm the ASB President of Concord High. So recently at CHS, we now have a new science class called Sports Med. It's currently being taught by our science teacher, Ms. Sanziano, and the students in the class learn about sports-related injuries and how to treat them. And along with this, they gain hands-on experience by working out the football games that we have at our school, so that's a plus. And then our band program is starting the year off very successfully. They brought the spirit to Walnut Fest, placing first and winning the nut. On top of this, they won first in marching band and second in drum major. On September 28th, the marching band have their march-a-thon, so if you're interested, come and support us. On October 12th, they will be participating in the Franklin Band Review, and following that, they'll be participating in the Santa Cruz Band Review, which they look forward to winning. Our cheer team also participated in the Walnut Parade alongside the band, winning first place. So our fall sports season is underway, and our football team has won their first game of the season against Rotary Valley with a score of 14-0. In the last 3 games we lost, but we did it with pride, so that's good. And our cross country team has been prepping for their meets. Over the weekend, they recently participated in the DLS Nike Invitationals, with the varsity team placing 25th out of 40 teams. Some of the highlights include 2 sub-17 times, and also the varsity members, or almost all of the varsity members, went under 20 minutes. Our varsity girls, JV team, and freshman team all had great PRs and kept a steady pace. Their next meet is October 2nd. Yeah. Our water polo team has acquired a lot of new members compared to last year. The women's water polo team has recently competed in Sierra Shootout. placing 7th out of 16 teams in the gold division. Our men's water polo team is also playing hard and going against new teams this year. Our women's volleyball team has a great season so far. At their latest game against Mount Diablo, they won with a score of 3-0, and their next match is a home game tomorrow against Buren. The women's tennis team also is practicing very hard, and they have a match against YB on September 26th. Finally, for my favorite part, leadership. So this year we decided to move the Spirit Shack from a committee to a freshman class responsibility, and we did this to make it easier to set a style and organization compared to like people in the committee changing every committee period. So this also gives freshmen a chance to build organizational skills and work money management. Our social media team has also been working really hard to vamp up our social media presence in the school. And then over the weekend, our seniors hosted the first ever Minutemen Market, which had games, food, and items that were being sold. We also recently had our Welcome Back Rally, which was a success. We didn't have a theme for it like all the other schools, but it was still good. Currently, we are planning our homecoming rally, dance, and halftime show. And our theme this year is Hollywood Magic, which is similar to YB's. It was a coincidence, I swear. And our Spirit Week will be from October 7th to 11th. And I'm not saying the Spirit Days since we haven't released them yet, so it's still a secret. And our Spirit Days will be followed by lunch activities that correspond with those days, and on Wednesday a teacher performance. On October 11th, we'll have our rally and announce the royalty for the freshman, sophomore, and junior classes. And that night will be our game against YB, where we'll announce the senior royalty. And the following day will be our dance. The class is working really hard to make homecoming great. Thank you, and go Minutemen.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you.
Good evening, President Durkee, Superintendent Dr. Martinez, board members and members of the Superintendent's Council, as well as members of the audience. My name is Silas Andrade, and I'm a representative of the College Now program. And for those of you who don't know, the College Now program is a program for 60 total students, 30 seniors and 30 juniors, who are taking their school periods full-time at Diablo Valley College. The way that works is they have 3 high school classes, and those classes are English, Avid, and History. And the rest of their classes and credits are made up by them actually taking college classes on campus. It has proven to be a very successful program thus far, and we are currently working on many real-world events in which we will be making a real impact. The first of which, the seniors are working on a bully project for English, in which we revise the MDUSD bullying policies. And we look at every aspect of it. There's different groups assigned to each part, and we try to find ways that it could be revised or ways that it could be worked on better to be more implemented towards today's times, and it could be reinforced better. For economy, we are starting a project that is the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. And in that project, we will have 9 choices of a topic that we want to cover, which goes from gender equality to helping build communities that can withstand natural disasters. And if we are to win with our ideas, there is a first place prize of $1,800, as well as them using our ideas to actually build upon the community. In the senior Avid class, we are currently working on our personal statements, as we will be applying for colleges in the spring semester. And that comes with a lot of self-exploration. We reviewed the personal statement questions, and we looked at our own strengths and weaknesses to see what we could really build our personal statement off of.
Okay, so my name is Liz Webster, and I'm also representative for the College Now program. I'm going to talk about our junior students. So our junior students right now in history are learning about civil rights, and soon after completing this unit, they'll go on to make either a memorial, a museum, or something that just overall talks about civil rights movements for different communities, such as Latinx, LGBT, Black, and Native American, or women. So that's a big project for them. They're pretty excited. We're training them well. For English, they're learning about MLK and Malcolm X, and they just really finished their first informative essay on that. And now they're having a Socratic seminar comparing both of those figures. And then for AVID, they're learning how to make good and achievable goals and plans to fulfill them. And all of our cohorts are going well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good evening, President Durkee, board members, Superintendent Dr. Martinez, members of Superintendent Council, and members of the audience. My name is Melody, and I am ASB Vice President.
My name is Andrea Garcia, and I'm ASB President for Red School.
And we are student representatives from Mount Diablo High School. I would first like to address the Welcome Back Rally. It was successful and the performances and schedules activities went as scheduled. The Spirit Week that took place before the Welcome Back Rally showed how school spirit has dramatically increased. It would be sensed in the energy of the student body. At Mount Diablo High School, we are seeing vast improvements already. Relating to our school schedule, peak hours was introduced, which is a combination of 6-period days and as well as block days. Our senior picnic was September 3rd at Waterworld, and there was a lot of positive responses.
The majority of our upcoming events are connected to homecoming, which will take place next month on the 19th. The theme is horror movies, which is a different theme than the previous years, so the leadership class and the rest of the student body are very excited to see the outcome, especially since it's going to be close to Halloween, so it's going to be easy for us to get supplies. The prices are $15 with ASB and $25 without. Something different we are doing this year is we are doing homecoming nominations as well as accepting people who want to run. This will take place during peak schedule and will hopefully increase attendance and awareness of the event as well as more school spirit because people will be excited to see their friends run. Something I'm very proud to announce is that our school football team won their first game in 3 years. Thank you. We worked really hard. We've been working all year round despite it being just one season, but we look really forward to seeing the season come to life. Thank you, Dr. Martinez, for attending. This has shown their year-round effort and guidance under Coach DJ, who has taught them to continue to strive for greatness throughout all their difficulties and hardships. The school has given them lots of pats on the back for their effort and for keeping their heads up high, which has shown that we practice our school motto, victory with honor. Our club recruitment day will take place on October 17th, which is where students will be able to join clubs that are represented throughout the school, and we look forward to seeing the attendance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah. Is that it? Everybody? Okay, well, great job, you guys. You did a really great job. It was really interesting. Thank you so much for being here. You're more than welcome to stay and the rest of the meeting, but you're also able to leave. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Okay, now we're going to move on to the very scintillating, riveting board member reports. And we'll start with Mr.
So I had an opportunity to attend an event for Tony Thurmond, our California Superintendent of Public Instruction, which was at Chez Panisse in Berkeley, which Alice Waters, who founded Chez Panisse, and as well as the Edible Schoolyard program in Berkeley, she was there, and so that was a very interesting event. I attended the Contra Costa Sustainability event where our very own Cindy Gershon received a Lifetime Achievement Award. I was at the our MDUSD Wellness Committee meeting chaired by Dominic Machi, and lots of great suggestions and ideas and things that are happening within our district. And then this Thursday, I'll be at the Mayor's Healthy Cook-Off, which is Thursday, 4 to 7 p.m. in Todos Santos. Even though I'm a super picky eater, they made me a judge, so I'm looking forward to that. And so all of these are examples of organizations that are standing up and protecting our students and their future. And they need that. And I think about the fact in our last 2 years, something that we had never had during my time on the board, and I think for many years before, was we've had fire days, that the air quality has become so poor that we've had to close schools due to fires that take place hundreds of miles away, but the impact on our environment. We continue to see increasing rates of childhood obesity. We've talked about bullying and cyberbullying, school shootings, and the dangers continue to pile up. And I know who will not protect our students. They will not be protected by corporations that are intent on maximizing profit. Monsanto will not be protecting our students. The Dairy Council will not be protecting our students. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos will not be protecting them, and neither will President Trump. So I believe it's incumbent upon our district, our board, and our community to continue to protect our students and find ways that that's happening, to support them and recognize them. And I thank everyone who is doing something on behalf of our students and on behalf of their future. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mason.
I went to College Park, had a college night or day meeting after school where they had parents and students finding out everything they need to do. They're kind of panicking already to get ready for college, what they need for their applications. I also was at the Wellness Committee meeting with Mr. Lawrence, as well as on the same day, the Wellness Committee, the Parent Advisory Committee, and the DLAC. So it was a day of back-to-back meetings, but like Mr. Lawrence, it's always nice to have the parents come out and support us, give us their ideas, give us their concerns, so we can move forward in a way that's beneficial for all of our students. With that, I'll pass it on.
Thank you. On September 16th, I attended the Mount Diablo Unified School District Business Alliance meeting. Ms. Cowan was there as well. And the meeting was held in the new restaurant area for Serendipity. And the program has a new name, a new logo, and a new tagline, which is Career Pathways Preparing Today's Students for the Jobs of Tomorrow. And Dr. Martinez was introduced and shared quite a bit of information, so I'll let him talk about that. On September 16th, we had the Mount Diablo Education Foundation meeting, and the folks already presented the annual report, and Ms. Cowan will probably talk more about that in the K-5 run on October 5th. On September 19th, I was at the Parent Advisory meeting with Dr. Martinez and Mrs. Mason and Mrs. Cowan. And again, Dr. Martinez presented some remarks to the parents, and it was very well received. On September 19th, I attended the Project 212 Ignacia Valley High School Robotics After School Club team had a presentation for parents and the community where they thanked their members and informed us about the progress since they've begun converting the shop classroom. And it's a project Lead the Way for engineering, and more than $120,000 has been contributed to this program by business partners they're calling it the Warriors Innovation Lab. And those donors include Concord Rotary, Chevron, Marathon, Bay Area Leads, Fresenius Medical Care, Benchmark Electronics, D&D Safety, Professional Flooring and Design Incorporated, and Zen Toolworks. These businesses and more have contributed to robotics and have supported the program at Ignacia Valley High School, and they are already beginning to plan for their next year's competition. So it was all in all a great event, and parents are very engaged because they're supporting their students in this program. So thank you very much. Oh, and on Thursday night, it's the Teacher of the Year Awards program, sponsored by the Contra Costa County Office of Education. And Shay Kornfeld from Diablo View Middle School is one of the finalists. So everyone keep your fingers crossed.
Thank you. Ms. Cowan?
Thank you. Okay, so a lot of things already covered. Fantastic. We all go together to a lot of things in the district, which is wonderful. It's great to be part of such a good team. At the Business Education Alliance event at Serendipity Cafe, I also got to sit in on the Engineering and Building Trades group, which was really fascinating to be able to see all the different companies, business representatives coming up with ideas of what they could do together with students, those hands-on projects, kind of like what Tom Trowbridge had done with the building of the tiny house with the students, and they're coming up with the next great ideas. So it was just incredible to see, and can't wait to see what they come up with next. The one other thing I did attend was the CSBA, which is California State School Board Association Masters in Governance classes. So I'm doing my best to catch up with Ms. Mason and Ms. Mayo and all of you with your fantastic school board leadership skills. I'm learning as well as a new school board member. One of the things I did notice is that some of the other school districts, school board members came in pairs. Either two board members or a board member and the superintendent. So I just wanted to mention to all of you that there are more classes coming up, and you can take them in any order. So there's the next two classes are October 11th and 12th. So if anyone's able to come with me, let me know. It's a great thing to do together. I just want to give a little gratitude. So I like to think about what gratitude I can give, and today it's to Ms. Mayo, because as I was at the CSBA Masters in Governance class, there's a whole section learning about policies, board policies, and the laws around those, and how to update such policies. And I'm realizing just how much work Ms. Mayo has put into updating the entire 9,000 series, which is our board bylaws. Want to offer my help to anything that still needs to be done on those issues as well. Just a couple announcements of upcoming things that are coming up tomorrow. The California Department of Education is holding an Achievement Gap Town Hall, and you can attend it at the Contra Costa County Board of Education building, or just online. People can just register and watch it online, and it starts at 3:30. You can find it on the CDE website. It's just cde.ca.gov, and just search for Achievement Gap Town Hall to register for that. Thursday night, I noticed there's a informational on the International Baccalaureate program at YV High. For anyone, parents with 9th and 10th graders who are interested in that program, it's at 6:30 in the library at YV High. And then a couple of great fairs coming up. I don't know if this is in your announcements. The Concord High has a career education fair, October 3rd at 6:30. These are all for the whole district. So that one's focused on careers. And then YV High has a college fair on October 24th. So just wanted to highlight a few of the many wonderful things in our district.
So yeah, we won't repeat anything someone else talked about. I just wanted to say a little bit more about the robotics club at YV, because based on my work experience as well, working with these kinds of programs, it was such a great example of partnerships. I was kind of blown away. It's a perfect example of the way that industry is involved. They obviously find it meaningful and relevant, and then Rotary is a key partner, has supported them for many, many years, has supported the high school for many, many years. And the passion and enthusiasm from those folks, when they can see what a difference it makes for students. I want to also give a call out to April Treese, a longtime friend from Mount Diablo Unified, who's now the Executive Director of Bay Area Leads. which is an intermediary organization, and you know, she's just one of the best in terms of working with industry and making it meaningful for both industry and education. And then a lot, you know, some of the companies were Chevron, Marathon, Zen Toolworks, Benchmark, D&D, just the list goes on and on and on, and they were all there. The enthusiasm of the kids, the gentleman that is the president of the club did just a fabulous job in emceeing. He did everything perfectly. You know, he knew how to introduce people well. He knew how to make a comment after they finished. A lot of them were nervous, but he talked about what a good job they did. He was like a professional. And then I found out they actually got some training from the Rotary Club. So that was very good to see. And our own CARES after school program was recognized as well. For, you know, supporting, because they do these, you know, during competition time, and they're working hours and hours and hours. They need to eat, and so CARES made it, you know, also an opportunity for them. Anita Miller is the person that was Mayo mentioned, Project Lead the Way. So, you know, that's a series of sequence of courses that offer to students at that school, Joseph Alberico is kind of the star there, the lead teacher for that, and also running this club for the kids after school. He's just an inspiration. He's amazing. Students talked about, there's one story that kind of tickled me, was this young woman who was debating between cheerleading, engineering. She was interested in both, which makes sense. And she did 1 year, she dropped out of engineering to go to cheer, and then she went back. And she just said, this is what I want to do. So really inspirational stories from students. But I have another gift. They were giving out, Anita, giving out hats to all the kids. So I found one today. Chevron for. They are the group that funds Project Lead the Way in some of our high schools, and it's a STEM program. And Project Lead the Way was started actually by industry, because they were concerned about people not understanding what engineering is, and kids coming out of school with no concept of, you know, going on.
It goes straight to the high.
So anyway, she was very kind. She's a big supporter there as well. She was very kind to provide discounts for the board and our superintendent. So thank you very much. And I'm going to be on I'm trying to squeeze in. We have my daughter's getting married on Sunday, so that's a priority for me right now. All the stuff that has to get done for that, so I'm missing out on some of the events, but I'll catch up later. So thank you. Okay, superintendent's report.
Okay, well, we've had a lot that we've covered tonight, a lot of different activities, and so I just wanted to mention one or two more and speak to just, again, a little bit of my overall process here. It's been 5 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, 5 weeks of being able to be with all of you, our students, our parents, our families, our educators, the board, and it's just been an amazing 5 weeks. I'm so thankful to be here. One of the big shout outs that we wanted to mention to everybody is that on October 5th, after you run, then you can get a little cleaned up, and if you know some folks who are thinking about working for us in a classified position, we are having our classified job fair. So we do have some positions. These are positions working with students to support our students, to support our process in our food service areas, our transportation areas, our custodial areas. We need substitutes as well to help us out. So again, we want to spread this message across our communities. Please come and speak to our Human Resources Department on October 5th from 9:00 a.m. to 2:00 p.m. So plenty of time to, again, run in the morning, get a little cleaned up, come on over. Just wanted to make sure and put that out there. One of the big messages that I've been able to do, and again, meeting with our Parent Advisory Committee, our DLAC committee last week, and really the similar message that I worked with our administrators and our teacher groups and our counselor group is this idea of supporting our children where they're at. Each one of them needs guidance, support, truly a structure that builds their personal resilience. And in the letter that I wrote on Friday, I spoke a little bit about this recipe for resilience. And it's something that I really do believe in. And the idea is that, again, as we build those skills for students in the areas of responsibility for themselves, relationships and knowing how to work with other people, respect for everybody all the time, resolve to be able to be committed to what they want to accomplish, being focused on relevance, really staying committed to, again, the important issues, rigor for life as I call it. Enjoy it. Enjoy what we do. Enjoy the hard work. Enjoy the dedication. Enjoy the perseverance. And the resourcefulness. Every time our parents teach a lesson to a child, every time an educator teaches a lesson to a child, every time we create a system that imparts that lesson to a child, they're building their resourcefulness. And it's all of those things. There's so much more to it, but we have to all work together for the resilience development of our children. And again, the parents in both arenas where we spoke and in our business capacity, I was able to share that with them. It's a lot of work for all of us, but again, we can do it together. The last thing I'll mention is that, again, as a board and as we're looking in our future here, what we're going to do, and I'll say this, is really work so that our board's goals, which are the district's goals, are aligned with our LCAP goals, or aligned with my goals. And so you'll see in the next coming months that we're going to do some work together to make sure that as we progress as a district, from our leadership team supporting all of our students and our families, that we're going to be aligned to be supportive and our systems are working. So it's just an overall, I want people to see that coming and look ahead for that work. So thank you.
Yeah, we're very excited. Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations on 5 weeks. Yeah. Okay, now we move on to our consent agenda. Items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and will be approved, adopted by a single motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items. However, any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any member of the board and acted upon separately. So I would ask some of the members of the board have items they'd like to have pulled.
Madam President, I'd like to pull 14.3 and 14.25.
I would like to pull 14.17. Any others? Another board members? No? Okay, now I'll entertain a motion for the rest of the consent agenda.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the consent agenda with the exception of 14.3, 14.17, and 14.25.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got it. First and a second. We'll go to the vote. Passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you very much. Okay, so now 14.3 becomes. .1.
Almost there.
Do you want to share questions?
So in reviewing this particular item, I noticed, and staff did provide some answers to my questions. There are 14 texts and, whoops, now I lost my, And 5 of them, and they vary in publication date from 2013 to 2018, and 5 of them were in the latter publication date. I seem to recall that our adoption for textbooks follows a different process, and I understand that the International Baccalaureate program is a standalone program in our district, so perhaps the textbook adoption process has changed. So could you just provide some information to refresh my memory about what we normally do and what will occur with the IB programs in the future? Because we have the possibility of additional textbooks at the middle school level, and the two elementary schools are considering IB textbooks. And my final question was, are any of these textbooks used by any of the other high schools in the district?
We'll have our Executive Director of Instructional Supports, Jennifer Sachs, come and share a little bit of information.
Good evening, everyone. So yes, this is what you remember with regards to our normal adoption process does look different than what this one particular high school did with our IB textbooks. If you take a look when the courses of study were actually adopted, it was actually quite a bit ago in 2017, and that was really for the classroom teachers to try out some textbooks that IB had recommended. And so after they have experienced the textbooks, they've taken a look at the ones that they feel best meet their needs at this time. Generally during adoption cycle, what we end up doing is if a department, a course realizes that they do need updated materials, they contact our office, and really what we try to do is we have a collection of teachers from across our system, from multiple high schools, taking a look at a variety of different texts in order to make sure that we're not just adopting books for one school, but we're taking a look at it across the district. Since YB High School, their only high school that's offering IB, they were the one and only that we're taking a look at the materials. Of course, if a program expands, then we would have to have the materials possibly revisited, especially if the other teachers at the other school sites find that they may not exactly meet all of IB's requirements. But at this point, the staff over at YB High School are confident that these books will meet their needs going forward. You're welcome.
So that means that these textbooks are unique to YB High School then?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And presumably if staff members change, the instructors change, then the teachers that follow replace the teachers that move on, they will approve of the textbooks.
They will be utilizing those textbooks just as
Period.
any other. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, they'll be utilizing these textbooks.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate the explanation, and with that, I'll move, I don't know what's this particular agenda item 15.1, which was item number 3. The Ignacio Valley High School International Baccalaureate Program, new textbooks for IB Chemistry, Psychology, History, Spanish, French, and IB Theory of Knowledge.
I'll second that.
Okay. First, all right.
Voice vote? First, we need a voice vote.
Yeah, because it's not coming up for the.
Okay, all right, we'll go to a voice vote on this. Mr. Lawrence?
I vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo?
Yes.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Durkee votes yes, so that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Okay, so I think the next one was mine, whatever number it is now.
Two.
I just wanted to better understand how this this program will potentially look, and now the attachments seem to talk a lot about, I mean, I know how these grants work, I can talk a lot about the pre-college level, but I was trying to kind of get a better image of what they might look like in either high schools. It's at either Mount or YB, I think, might be implemented.
Yes, well, we'd like to have Stephanie come on up. Stephanie's gonna be, she's our director, of course, Stephanie Roberts, our director of special projects, and so she'll speak
everything.
a little bit to this, other duties as you see.
Good evening. This is a 5-year grant. This is the first year, it's a planning, so right now is when we're making those decisions around what specifically the program would look like. The intent would be that we're looking at about 30 students, a cohort within a STEM pathway. We started having conversations with Mount Diablo High School, Concord High, and potentially YV. So with a decision around what particular school will be done this year. And then when it rolls out in the fall of 2020, we will have a cohort of about 30 ninth grade students who will participate and move along, having some dual enrollment classes through DVC, internships, more intentional industry partners that we have in Mount Diablo as well as DVC. And then once they graduate from us, they would go to DVC, do 2 years, and then either move on to a 4-year college or the work world, and they would be guaranteed an interview with one of our industry partners. So it's we're excited, but we don't know the specifics too much. We can come back and definitely give you guys an overview about what that looks like.
So these are, all 3 of those have Project Lead the Way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
And of course, the pathway, the 9 through 14 pathway, would need to be STEM specific. And we were just excited that DVC was really excited to work towards this, and that we've been really successful in getting articulation agreements, but that dual enrollment hasn't been, it's been an area of struggle. So DVC is really coming to the table, and we're really looking forward to that partnership.
Great, thank you very much. Appreciate the information. Okay, with that, I will move the approval of Contra Costa Community STEM Pathways Grant.
Second.
You have voice votes? We're still stuck. We could just. Mr. Lawrence.
I vote yes.
Ms. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Mayo? Yes. Ms. Cowan?
Yes.
And Ms. Turkey votes yes, so it passes, just like it says up there, passes 5-0-0-0.
Nobody can vote no tonight.
Okay, the next one.
So, I had some questions regarding this one, and staff provided some answers around the fact that this, because it's an emergency situation, that it didn't have to go to bid. And the reason that I had questions was the attachments indicated very vaguely the work that was to be done, but the list on that attachment has a very lengthy list of 39 exclusions for this particular contract. So I'm curious as to the scope of the work that was completed for this contract.
Yes, I'm gonna have Richard Jackson, our Director of Maintenance, come on up. Richard, speak directly to the question.
Good evening, Dr. Martinez, members of the board. Ms. Vale, how are you?
I'm great. Curious as always.
Your question regarding the scope of the work?
Yes, for the, it's for the central services gas pumps, diesel pumps, and parking lot lighting, artesian well pump, and panels that we have that are not up to current code.
Yes, this work was discovered when doing the demo of the current project for the warehouse. That building is a 50-plus-year-old building, and these were clearly unforeseen conditions out there, and these are things that we identified. It wasn't on any drawings or anything. Our construction managers working closely, overseeing the project, making sure our costs, we had a not to exceed number on that, so that's what this is regarding. So these were clearly things that were not identified on our drawings.
So, for example, for the, I didn't realize the gas pumps and the diesel pumps are next to the old warehouse.
Yes, it all ran through the old warehouse, and when doing the discovery, a demo on the building, we found this stuff out, and that's how we come to this.
So it was electrical lines that were
Conduits,
servicing
yes.
those posts?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. That's all I have. So with that, I'll move item 15.3 the award of project to Brockman and Woody Electrical Company Incorporated for Central Services Emergency Gas, Diesel, Well Pump, and Parking Lot Lighting Services.
Second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second, and we're ready to go to a vote.
Hold on, we can do now.
We're back.
Some serious on-the-job training.
Now, this passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you very much.
The system is very complicated. Folks need to spend some time with it to understand how complicated it is.
Okay. All right, so we are now on 17.1, public hearing, adoption of resolution of the governing board of Mount Dapple Unified School District recommending that the Contra Costa County Committee on School District Organization approve and establish trustee areas from which the Mount Dapple Unified School District trustees will be elected in a by trustee area election process. So we have some public comment cards, but we should have a presentation first, right? So.
Yes. We have Larry Furchow, here. Larry.
Thank you very much, Dr. Martinez, members of the board. We have a presentation coming up. Is that better?
Yeah.
I'm a low talker. I'll learn eventually. Thank you. Well, thank you, members of the board. Have I would say a brief presentation, but it's 30-something slides, so it's not brief. But I'll try to go through it quickly. This just kind of is a refresher. We spent the summer meeting on the trustee areas, and as the district makes its transition from the at-large method of election to by trustee area method of election. We've held a number of meetings, and we'll talk about all the meetings and what we've learned through that process as we go through, but just kind of refreshing your memory, back in May, the board voted to move from at-large to by area elections. We held 2 pre-map public hearings in June. Took a little bit of a time off during the summer, but then in August, when school was back in session, we had a series of 8 community input meetings over the course of a few weeks to get feedback on the initial scenarios that were released, and then we've since have released some additional scenarios. We have tonight's public hearing on the map scenarios. We have another scheduled public hearing on the 14th of October, which could be the first opportunity for the board to select a map and finalize the process before it moves on to the County Committee on School District Organization. And a little bit of an update, the state board last week, 2 weeks ago, met and approved the district's waiver application for the election requirements. So that's been taken care of by the state board. As far as the considerations in drawing trustee areas, you'll recall they have to be roughly equal in terms of total population, drawn to comply with the Federal Voting Rights Act. The areas have to be compact, contiguous, keeping communities of interest together, following logical boundaries that people can look at a map and understand them. Incumbency is an allowable consideration. It can't be a primary consideration. And then other local considerations, we have attendance boundaries, school sites, anything else that the board may direct. This is a refresher on the total population of the district as of the 2010 census, roughly 250,000 residents, meaning 5 roughly equal areas of 50,000 people. You can see the ethnic breakdown on total population, 54.9% white, just under 25% Hispanic Latino, 12.25% Asian on total population, and then you see 18 and over. The other thing that we look at for Federal Voting Rights Act purposes is the citizen voting age population. So this is an estimate of folks who are 18 and over and are citizens, and focusing here on the Hispanic Latino population, which is the largest protected class within the district. So you can see 16% Hispanic Latino, 12% Asian, 4.5% African American are the largest of the protected classes, with 62.5% white population. The map on the right hand side just highlights the areas of increased citizen voting age population for the Latino population. So just to kind of walk through all the maps that we've posted. August 16th, we posted the original red, blue, and green scenarios. September 10th, we added pink and purple to the mix. And then a couple days later, based on some additional feedback we received, we added map purple A. Just kind of, it was very similar to purple, so just a little bit of a tweak, so we kind of just called it purple A. Ran out of colors, that was the main reason why. refresher on all these scenarios. I'm going to go through the first one probably a little bit longer, and then we can talk in a little bit quicker about them as we go through. But scenario red, which is among the original scenarios, area 1 is yellow, 2 is green, 3 is that reddish color, 4 is blue, and 5 is purple. So you can see in this scenario, area 1 starts in the Bay Point area, takes in Pittsburgh, comes through North Concord all the way down into Clayton. Area 2, kind of that North Concord area over to Martinez, Pleasant Hill, Pacheco area. Area 3, southern half of Pleasant Hill, parts of Walnut Creek, parts of Concord, including parts of the Monument Corridor. Area 4 would be the other half of the Monument Corridor in Concord, Walnut Creek, and then Area 5 being the rest of Walnut Creek, and then Concord and Clayton working its way on down. In terms of demographics that we want to highlight on this particular scenario, we do create an area, area 1, the yellow area in Bay Point. Actually, I'm going to go back one slide real quick and just talk about sequencing on these maps. You can see all the school sites are labeled. The current board members' residences are identified with the term of that particular board member, so when that board member is up for re-election. And then in the upper right-hand corner, upper left-hand corner, you will see the legend where it says the proposed sequencing for each map in terms of when each area would be up for election. So scenario red, it would be areas 2 and 5, just based on the terms of board members expiring in those particular areas. Sorry about that little digression there. So in terms of the demographics we wanted to highlight on this particular scenario, we see area 1 where we have a Latino citizen voting age population of 24.36%. So we have one area where the Latino citizen voting age population is substantially above the district average. It's not possible to create a majority Latino area or plurality Latino citizen voting age population area, but it is possible to create increased influence areas. And we'll see various forms of that through the 6 scenarios. The other thing we did is added some additional demographic data on all these maps, so you can see we highlight the age breakout across the different different areas in each scenario. So you can see areas 1 and 5 have a higher percentage of school-aged children, so under 18 years old. They're both at about 23%. The other areas are below 20%. You can see the percentage of owners versus renters. Area 3 in this scenario had by just a smidge, a little bit more renters than owners of the units that they live in. And then we look at income, and I kind of look at it at the $50,000 mark. So you can see pretty even across. I mean, most of those are about 25 to 22% of households under $50,000, except for area 5, which is at 15% under $50,000. So that's that one skews a little bit more affluent than the other 4.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second to ask if people who are watching from home have access to this? I'm not seeing this slideshow on as an attachment on our agenda.
It will be by tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll post it up on our website. Okay, thank you.
The other thing that we've highlighted on these maps, and all these maps are available on the district's website, all this information is already on those maps that are posted to the district's website also, just not in this exact format. But we also highlight here the various attendance boundaries that are served by each trustee area. Throughout the course of the community input meetings, we heard a lot about information about this school site or that school site, but you'll see on this chart, you'll see many schools are shared across 1, 2, 3 trustee areas. So we wanted to highlight that it's not necessarily where the school site is located, but pay attention to what boundaries are served by each trustee area as well. The physical plant may be in one area, but all the students could be in the other, and in reality it's still a 5-member board, and all board members are responsible for all the schools in the district, and it takes the board to make any decisions about the direction of the school district. So just want to highlight that information is there, so while a particular school site might not be in an area, students might be, the voters are, and so that's something to pay attention to. So scenario blue is a little bit different than red. If you remember, in red we came farther south, area 1 came farther south into Clayton. In this one, area 1 comes farther across to the west. Area 2 then shifts down 3 does the same thing, kind of shifts down, and to the east, area 4 in blue gets a little bit shortened into that central Concord area, and then area 5 is really just the rest of the southern part of the district. See very similar demographic information, sorry, on the sequencing on that one. The proposed sequencing would be areas 2 and 4 in 2020 and 1, 3, and 5 in 2022. In terms of the demographics, one area, area 1 at 27.6% Latino. All the other areas, just area 4, just a little bit above the district average in terms of Latino citizen voting age population. The other thing we can also look at is just the percentage white citizen voting age population. So you see there's one area where their white percentage is below 50%, and then all the other areas, the white citizen voting age population is substantially above 50%, anywhere between 61 and 72%. So you could look at non-white citizen voting age population that way as well. In terms of age, we have very similar. We have 2 areas that are about 23% under the age of 18. Similar on renter and owner statistics, and similar on income statistics, anywhere between 22 and 28% in areas 1 through 4 under 50,000, and then area 5 at about 15% under 50,000. And then I'm not going to read all the school sites or school boundaries that are in each area, but that information is all there for the public to see. So tried to provide as much information as we can about these different scenarios. Scenario green, because we're looking at differences. The focal point of scenario green when we created it was the Monument Corridor and what would it look like to keep all of Monument Boulevard together. So this was the first attempt at that. We certainly heard a lot of feedback that we'll talk about on that concept. So you see the area 3 in red is that area that keeps Monument Corridor together, and then comes farther south into portions of Walnut Creek. Area 1 in this particular scenario doesn't cross the 4 until it gets into Concord. So Pittsburgh and Bay Point in this particular scenario are in different areas. Area 1 comes down, takes in parts of Martinez, all the way into really Pleasant Hill, where the 242 and the 680 are. Area, the Pleasant Hill area, for the most part, is kept together in area 2, and then 4 and 5 kind of split east-west, the southern part of the district. We see on demographics, we see still just one area where the Latino citizen voting age population is above the district average by a substantial amount, and that again is in area 1. We do see area 3 where the non-white citizen voting age population gets a little bit higher, so we're down to 56.81% white citizen voting age population, so we're a couple percentage points lower there. So to the degree we can create 2 non-white majority citizen voting age population areas, area green gets a little bit closer. We see in terms of school age population, we see areas 4 and 5 are the ones that skew a little bit younger in this one at both about 23%. You can see the renters versus owners, and then you can see income bands. What we see here is in area 1, the percent below 50,000 is 41%. So that's a little bit different than we've seen pretty standard across the 20%. The rest of the areas are in the 20s. Area 4 is at 13% below 50,000. So a little bit different of a look there in terms of having area 1 be under 50,000 at 41%. And then the table of school boundaries as well there. So those were the first 3 scenarios that were released in advance of our what became 8 community input meetings. Kind of recap the schedule there of all 8 of them. Across those we had 105 total attendees, 50 of which came at our last one on September 11th at Meadow Homes Elementary. So almost half the total number of attendees were at one site. And so that was a good opportunity. Most of these were smaller group settings where we kind of went over the presentation of where we were, what the process was, what the scenarios were, and just had some dialogue, got some feedback on the process, gave folks a chance to submit written comments. We had the one on September 11th came after we had released the initial two additional scenarios, pink and purple. One thing I apologize for is we didn't have copies of pink and purple for that map, and so we make sure to have copies today. of all 6 scenarios in the back, if anybody didn't get those already. And they've been on the website now for a while, as we see. In terms of the public input, we received, as of the time this presentation was put together, we had 42 written comments, but we got an additional batch of emailed comments, so we're up to 57 written comments with the addition of 15 additional emailed comments. Copies of all of those comments are in this packet, which is also in the back. Board members should have that as well, where we summarize and really just provide all those written comments in raw form for the board members and community to see what people are saying. Most of these comments were received prior to the posting of Purple, Pink, and Purple A. So a lot of the comments focus on the original 3 scenarios and don't really touch on the additional scenarios. Generally, the feedback was the desire to keep the monument corridor together. So a lot of folks started with green as a basis, but wanting that area to be drawn farther to the north and to cut off the Walnut Creek portion of what was in scenario green. Concerns about dividing Pleasant Hill north and south in the 2 original scenarios, red and blue, and preferring how it was treated in scenario green. In the Clayton, or the Northgate, Ignacio Valley area, using Ignacio Valley Boulevard as a dividing line as opposed to Clayton Road, and then feedback that it made sense to pair Bay Point and Pittsburgh together. Kind of the communities made sense together. They feed into Mount Diablo High School together. So those were some of the feedback items we heard after the initial 7 community input meetings that led to scenario purple, which is right on the screen now. So as you see, Area 1, again, starting in Bay Point, going across to Pittsburgh, coming across to the Martinez portion north of the 4, as well as Concord area, Area 2, north and south, for the most part of Pleasant Hill and Walnut Creek portion below. Area 3, starting at that Monument Boulevard corridor and extending south a little bit to it's basically the BART tracks is what that little curve is, and then going north up to Olivera and the 4, Area 4 in blue, being south of Ignacio Valley Road, and Area 5 kind of stretching in between areas 2 and 4 there. The sequencing that we've identified as the beginning point of this is that areas 3 and 5 would be up for election in 2020, and then areas 1, 2, and 4 in 2022. That's the initial thoughts there. Highlight on the demographics is that we do create 2 areas where a majority of the citizen voting age population is non-white. So Area 1 has 26.18% Latino citizen voting age population, overall 57.38% non-white citizen voting age population, and then Area 3 at 25.52 Latino, overall of 50.23. It's an on-the-spot math test for me today. Non-white citizen voting age population there. Highlighting again on the ages, we see areas 1 and 3, so the yellow and red areas where the school age population is close to 25% in each of those. We see Area 3 having a really high percentage of renters, the higher percentages that we've seen. And then we also see, income-wise, we see Areas 1 and 3, 36%, 43% below 50,000. The other 3 areas are between 17 and 25%. So, you could argue that we're creating 2 areas that are similar, 3 areas that are similar in some respects when you look at the different demographics as well as the different other socioeconomic indicators and other things like that. Finally, all the schools, again, for the folks to see the different boundaries that are touched by each of the trustee areas. And scenario pink, similar in some respects to purple. The potential plaintiffs' attorneys in this case, Mr. Rafferty provided an example of what he thought an area could look like. That is Area 3. Kind of smoothed out a little bit, but kind of kept the general shape of what that Area 3 looks like there. So that was the starting point, and then we kind of worked around some of the other areas to make the population balance, keeping Area 1 in Pittsburgh and Bay Point, and coming down into Concord. Area 2 kind of sliding around the northern parts of Area 3 down into Walnut Creek and across. And then you can see 4 and 5 again using Ignacio Valley Road as the way to divide that area. In terms of election sequencing, we have 1, 2, and 4 in 2022, so 2 and 5, sorry, in 2020. Demographics, again, same thing. We have 2 non-white majority citizen voting age population areas in areas 1 and 3, which are also our highest influence Latino areas at 26 and 25.5% respectively. Again, in terms of school age, we have areas 1 and 3, again, at 23 and 24%. And in terms of income, we see area 1 at 36% under 50,000, area 3 at 37% under, and then areas 2 and 5 at 25%, and area 4 at 18%. And again, the higher renter percentage in area 3 at 62%. And all the schools again. Purple A, which is just fun to say. The idea here was, if you look back at purple, there was the high school that was in area 3 was Mount Diablo High School. Ignacio Valley and Northgate were both in area 4. There was some feedback, and I'm sure we'll hear some additional comments about area 3, but a desire to include Ignacio Valley High School's campus within area 3, see if there was a potential to create, at least have a high school campus in each of the trustee areas. So by moving, in scenario purple, moving area 1 down to take in the Mount Diablo High School campus, we're able to draw down area 3 to take in the Ignacio Valley High School campus. So this one does provide a high school campus, to the extent that's important, in each trustee area. It maintains the non-white majority CVAPs in areas 1 and 3. What else about this one? The sequencing is the same as purple and pink. The demographics are similar. You see 26% and just under 25% Latino, and again, 2 non-white majority citizen voting age population areas. We see 24.5% school age population in area 1, 23% in area 3. High renter again in area 3 as well, and also in terms of the income bands, we see area 1 at 37% under 50,000 and area 3 at 43% under 50,000. So keeping those areas kind of cohesive, and then again, all the school sites are identified there, or school boundaries are identified there. So I know that was a quick run through 30-something slides. Certainly allow for some questions later, but I think we'll take public comment.
Yes, thank you very much. That was very thorough. We appreciate that. I think it's really important for everybody to kind of walk through all of that as long as it was, but thank you, it was good. So, okay, so we'll now move to our public comments, and we'll start with Scott Rafferty.
Well, let me make a very quick round of compliments. First of all, your staff, right on in reaching all the different language minorities. Frankly, Antioch Unified didn't do a very good job of that. We got taken to task by the 2 black current and former trustees. This is enormously important because these minorities, even if they can't have their own majority trustee area, many of them are coming from countries where local government is neither elected nor trusted. And we're asking these people to stand up and be counted in the census this March. And we have to really reach out. We are bringing them, treating them as political equals, just the way that my grandparents were treated when they arrived here, the way that people have been treated since 100 years before the revolution in our country. So I thought that's an important note. Very quickly, we started out with 3 maps. I can't say I was really crazy about any of the initial 3. 2 of them broke the monument, which I think was a problem for many people. And the other took the monument as one, but drew it so far deep into what I guess I can call the Northgate area. that it became a majority white district. So those were problems, and I had some discussions with your demographer. And one of my principles was, I really care about making that monument district right, and everything else is more political. Pink was kind of my idea. He improved it in purple, frankly, but they're very similar, and the demographics are similar. Purple A, I hadn't realized the Mount Diablo angle, because I guess it's a continuation of high school in Bay Point now. So that I did not understand that angle.
It's not a continuation of high school.
There is a continuation of high school in
Yes,
Bay Point.
but it's not Mount Diablo.
No, I thought it was to put Mount Diablo in your district. So I did not know that. I thought there was also a comment that people wanted Ignacio Valley to be in the Monument District because that's where their kids go to school. The problem with that thinking is that all of that territory, the land swap there from the standpoint of the monument, all that territory around Ignacio Valley is also in Bancroft, and I believe that's part of the people that would like to leave, or that's the territory that is involved in secessions. And I just say that because we were trying to convince people at the meeting that this is about voters, it's not about school sites. So you're taking these people that don't want to be in your district, and one of them could wind up running, and that wouldn't be representative of your community. So I think your demographer's done a great job. These 3 new maps are all, I'd like to hear from the community on it. I will point out that one of the things he did accomplish was there's an area in northern Concord which is very minority rich, but it's very much like Bay Point in that these people have been here for a long time. And that's why it's logical, and 5 of the 6 maps do link those 2 communities, even though they're distant, they have that in common. I think the 3 new maps do a good job of differentiating this new immigrant community and trying to do the best we can to up the numbers. We also got a message from public input that people wanted to keep Pleasant Hill together, because I thought, this is not about getting. Sometimes the Latino candidate of choice is not a Latino. That happens a lot, and I think I'd like to be a very able advocate for that, Madam President. So anyway, but that did not get good feedback. So I think we're making progress. I urge you to keep going, finish the job, and make it. I know there's a lot of sacrifice. I really respect that, but I think these new maps are worthy of that sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike Langley.
Madam President, board members, Superintendent, thank you for this opportunity to speak on this subject. You all know my opinion of the first 3 maps, and I'm glad that I see it now in print. You would be surprised that it's mine. It takes 2 pages, and I'm known for my brevity, so in this one, I guess I was less brief. I was happy with the 3 new maps, the pink, purple A, and purple, in that they met one of the needs that I felt was to strengthen the monument corridor. I really believe that area, if it was too diluted with other areas, would take away an important voice for the people in that area. So I was happy. Of the 3 new maps, purple A and purple, straight purple, do one thing that I have a minor problem with, and that is they sort of balkanize 2 areas of Concord, the Clayton Highlands and the Kirkwood neighborhood that are south of Ignacio. And a lot of people think they're Clayton, they're Concord. And they have a lot in common with the way they're set up in the pink map, which uses Pine Hollow Road as a dividing area and allowing those areas to stay with the sort of middle-class Concord of the pink map. So I would not object to any of those three strenuously, although I agree with the last speaker that the only reason you want to have a high school in each area is so that you can conveniently split it up when graduation comes and know which one you're supposed to speak at. But other than that, I don't think it's important. I would be tickled pink if you gave more credence to the pink map. Thank you very much.
Michael Schneider.
Good evening, Mr. Martinez and fellow board. I have a problem with most of the maps, but the purple map is definitely the closest that I feel most comfortable with, and the community that I'm in the monument. The purple map that was issued after public comments has Trustee 3 crossing city lines into Pleasant Hill because Trustee 3 needed more non-white voters. In doing so, this purple map has created a scenario where approximately 2,900 people in Pleasant Hill could use their socioeconomic advantage and represent approximately 45,000 Concord residents in Trustee 3. These residents, including the bulk of the Title I schools that is 2 miles away. The minority population of Trustee 3 and Title I schools live in fear of government institutions, more on their local neighbors and support services such as Monument Impact and Monument Crisis Center as a trustworthy information in communicating their wants and their needs. I'm asking that the board and the public to consider expanding the northerly boundary of Trustee 3 north to Highway 4 and east of 242, and to keep it within City of Concord limits. The 2,900 Pleasant Hill residents can be allocated to Trustee 2, keeping City of Pleasant Hill as a whole, and allow those same 2,900 residents to have a say in their local home schools, Valhalla, Gregory Gardens, and College Park High School. Another option to be considered is to reallocate the 2,900 residents to Trustee 2 and keep Trustee 3 exactly the same as shown on the purple map, representing just a lower population of maybe 45,000 residents. Until the 2020 census and elections are held, we can then go ahead and revisit this issue with the new data in time for the 2022 elections. The scenario of the purple A is better. The only problem I have with it is that it goes ahead and cuts off Ignacio Valley Elementary. It puts it into Trustee 4. And that is a Title I school. It relies heavily. There's 400 students. They all come from the monument, the bulk of them. And there's a high density population just 1 block away from there that now resides in Trustee 3. That would be La Clinica on Sierra Road. That vicinity has a huge population, even though most of the students do not go to their home school. It is troublesome that now that Title I school would be cut off from those resources in the monument and be in Trustee 4. So expand it, include that elementary school. Thank you.
So I just have a clarification. What do you mean by they would be cut off from resources? Because we will not be limiting resources provided by any other public agency.
So again, those residents on Trustee 3 will have no say to their school.
Oh, you mean, right.
Right. And I should say, a say in how that elementary school that has 400 students would now be in Trustee 4, which would be more in the Walnut Creek.
I guess I was just confused by your word resources. They would be cut off from resources. You mean from being able to
Coordinate with the
someone?
City of Concord and everything. It'd be more difficult for a Walnut Creek resident to help coordinate resources that typically were such as those that are provided by Monument Impact and Monument Crisis Center. To be able to coordinate those would not be as easy for a Walnut Creek area to help coordinate after-school programs, the food banks that are supporting that school.
So you feel that an individual from Walnut Creek would not be an advocate for the Concord resources for that school?
It would be more difficult because it would require them to come into Concord in order to coordinate those versus having it in their own backyard.
Another question for you, because I'm looking at purple versus purple A. So when you're looking at purple A and you're talking about YV Elementary being in the trustee area 4, but in scenario purple, the reverse happens. YV Elementary is in trustee area 3, but Ignacio Valley High and Oak Grove Middle School are both in trustee area 4. So
Right.
it's a swap.
It's
So
a
are you
swap.
saying you prefer purple A or purple?
I would prefer the hybrid of going ahead and extending it out so that we do include the high school, but bottom line is I'm more concerned of children that are ages 5 to 10 that are going to be in the K school that are now more vulnerable. They'll need more social services than, say, later teenagers, which is a different mindset. So again, a hybrid of the two.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have Alex Hernandez.
I prefer to do my language today. Muy buenas tardes, miembros del board. Agradecemos que la mesa del distrito escolar tome en cuenta a la comunidad latina y que entienda que es importante que se cuente con un distrito que refleje como se muestra en los datos de estudiantes registrados en el número de latinos, es más de un 50%. Sabemos que para esto se tomen en cuenta los datos del censo, pero recordemos que en el censo históricamente se ha modificado para dar más poder a la gente blanca, como lo fue en el caso del norte de Carolina. Aquí no es una excepción.
Good afternoon, board members. We appreciate that the school district board takes the Latino community into account and that they understand that it is important that there is a district that reflects, as shown in the data of enrolled students, that the number of Latinos is more than 50%. We know that this census data is taken into account, but remember that the census has historically been modified to give more power to white people, as it was in the case of North Carolina. Here is no exception.
Si lo analizamos de cualquier forma, la comunidad latina es solo representada por no más de 31%. Como padres queremos tener un representante de Concord y el Distrito 3 debe tener un representante que refleje la mayoría de latinos, excluyendo otras ciudades y alargando más nuestras comunidades. Nos gustaría ver esto como una opción.
If we analyze it in any way, the Latino community is only represented by no more than 31%. As parents, we want to have a Concord representative, and District 3 must have a percentage that reflects the majority of Latinos, excluding other cities, and extending our community further. We would like to see that at this option.
Ahora bien, de las opciones que se han presentado en las juntas con la comunidad, incluyendo las dos nuevas opciones que se presentaron en Mero Homes y las cuales solo se llevaron más que una sola copia de cada una. Necesitamos más juntas para que más padres puedan dar su opinión y entender el proceso. Necesitamos un proceso que verdaderamente incluya más padres de familia que se puedan involucrar más.
Now, of the options that have been presented at the community meetings, including the two new options that were presented at Meadow Homes and which only took one copy, we need more meetings so that more parents can give their opinions and understand the process. We need a process that truly includes more parents who can get more involved.
El señor Rafiri ha dicho que está dispuesto a extender el proceso y ya sabemos que la ciudad de Concord hizo su proceso solo 9 meses antes de la elección, mientras nosotros todavía tenemos un año. Queremos que el distrito trabaje con organizaciones que tengan experiencias involucrando a la comunidad en procesos de decisiones, porque hasta ahora el proceso no ha incluido a los padres en una manera suficientemente. Necesitamos garantizar que el Distrito 3 tenga un representante que entienda y represente las necesidades de la comunidad inmigrante. Queremos que esto se tome en cuenta al decidir la decisión de este distrito. Muchas gracias.
Mr. Rafferty has said that he's willing to extend the process, and we already know that the city of Concord made its process only 9 months before the election, while we still have a year. We want the district to work with organizations that have experience in involving the community in the decision process, because so far the process has not included parents sufficiently. We need to ensure that District 3 has a representative who understands and represents the needs of the immigrant community. We want this to be taken into account when deciding the division of the district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
May I ask him a question? At the end there, you mentioned working with organizations that are experienced in organizing community input. Are there any particular organizations?
Ahorita no se me viene a la mente el nombre.
I don't have any names in mind right now, but there is a few of them.
La razón que lo digo es porque no ha habido suficiente comunicación y muchos padres no saben de qué se trata esto, no entienden lo que está pasando.
I'm mentioning this because there hasn't been a lot of communication, and a lot of the parents don't know what is this about or what is going on.
So I just want to add that we, based on the conversation we had, when we added the meeting at Meadow Homes, and so that, as you saw the numbers, that had the highest attendance of any of the meetings. I know you were instrumental in that, and I have the people here in the audience, I want to thank you for that. William Collins.
Hi, good evening, members of the board, superintendent. First, I want to thank you for the opportunity to let me speak, and also I want to thanks for all the options presented. However, we still need to resolve this problem of communication. Again, there are like really good options, but not all people they are aware of what's going on. Thanks, Mr. Keefe, to listen to Alex and also the parents at Meadow Homes, because that was a huge impact to get more feedback from parents and community. Right now, what we are expecting is like these new options are informed to other members of the community. Like these two options, the other parents, they weren't aware of what's going on, and right now we really need to inform these people. I know that this is a new process, but we really need to make sure that parents and community, they are informed. The channels of communication, they are not the best one. Not everyone has access to the website, which is really complicated. Right now, even for me, like I cannot access easily to all these options. Second of all, if we are doing this on all the meetings, people, they were confused. What's going on? What is this? The demographer did a really good presentation on explaining like the divisions. However, there's still that missing piece on explaining to people why we get to this point, on why we are dividing the school district in different areas. So that missing piece is just feedback for you to take into consideration. The other thing that I really want to suggest is, if we are doing these divisions, the representatives should, that are going to run for a position, they need to have a minimum years of living in each area. We don't want people to move from one city to another and just start, running for that. And we have seen this historically in all cities. That's still going on. We want someone that is a native or someone that really understands the needs of each community. So if there is a way to regulate that, that would be great. I know that this is a dream, but San Francisco could give voice to people in the school district where they can vote, regardless of your status. I know that that's a huge dream, but we can make it happen. And we really need to represent our communities. We are immigrants and we have different needs. We have seen that in all the schools. This is not also like about the voters. This is about our children. This is about the community who attends every day at the schools. All the volunteers that we have at the school. Immigrant communities, they are the most active people there. So we really need to let them know what's going on and express those voices that hardly are heard. So thank you for your time, and I encourage you to take a little bit more time to make a decision.
Thank you very much.
May I ask a clarifying question of Mr. Shanky, actually? As part of this process, would the board be able to set residency requirements for these district elections?
No.
Thank you.
Because of the provisions in the education code are minimum provisions and they can't be set differently by the board. The only thing the board really could do would be to call an election as to whether or not there be term limits. That's the only power you really would have. It's basically it's age 18, a resident of the district, registered voter. That's it. And there's actually no, in fact, it's unconstitutional to set a minimum residency of any district in a district, in an area. It's been declared unconstitutional. There used to be like 1 year, 5 year. The Supreme Court just feels that that's not conducive to what is required by the democracy.
Thank you.
Can you, Mr. Hickey, can you also talk a little bit about the timeline and what we're...
Well, the timeline is basically, it's driven by the election code under which Mr. Rafferty's plaintiff has demanded of you to adopt trustee areas. We actually have gotten one extension from Mr. Rafferty, which I appreciate and thank him for. But unfortunately, both he and I realize at this point, with the statute the way it's written now, it will change this year to cause the extension of the limits. There is no other provision for another extension. So you all need to act by the end of this month so we can get it to the county committee.
By the end of October?
Yes.
So I think I can speak for the board, saying none of us are thrilled with the timeline. Have never have been. It's challenging, for sure, and to the point that you brought up. And I think there are lots of parts of our community that would like to have more meetings. And you looked at the numbers again. You guys broke a record in terms of that number you got at Meadow Homes, but that wasn't the case across the district. And I think it's similar. People don't understand it. They don't know why. They're like, well, why are you guys even doing this? I think that is pretty well explained on the website. I know it's on the website, but there's a whole reason for it. It wasn't just something we dreamed up to do on our own, for sure. So thank you for your
I should probably wait till later, but I would like to suggest that we encourage the school sites to post the maps at the school sites. Most of the schools have bulletin boards either inside the multi-use room or in the corridors. They could even be posted in the corridors. Most of the schools, nothing is damaged in the hallways because I'm a frequent visitor at the school sites. And at least if they're posted, folks don't have the challenge of accessing by the website. And then the other thing would be any documents that have been translated, the explanation, maybe that could be posted as well.
I just want to add something real quick about that. I know that my time is over, but yeah.
It's probably not enough without the Mr. Fernshaw's explanation.
Right.
It's a start.
The thing is that about Meadow Homes, Alex Hernandez and I, we created a flyer beforehand, before the district actually made the robocalls and another flyer. So we've been like promoting that. So I think that with more clarity, because the flyers, they were so confusing, so we try to go straight to the points. So parents and us like involved in that, we've been doing that. Like, cause the flyers, like everyone like read them, cause they don't have like access, or not all parents have access to the website. So just
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I would just like to inform everybody that Mr. Hernandez is the past PTA president at Meadow Homes, and he's currently the president at Oak Grove Middle School PTSA. And Mr. Collin is the president of Meadow Homes Elementary School PTA. So I applaud them for speaking on behalf of their community.
Okay, we have Angela Cuevas.
Muy buenas noches, miembros de la mesa directiva. Mi nombre es Ángela Quiebra, soy padre de la escuela URO. El día de hoy estoy aquí ya que me preocupa la transferencia del proceso para la elección de las áreas del distrito escolar. Los padres nunca fueron informados de este proceso del inicio. En estas juntas nunca se explicó el por qué estaban haciendo esta división y muchos padres están confundidos. Siendo esta una decisión importante, los padres exigimos que nos expliquen dónde vienen los fondos para esto, la falta de comunicación. Pedimos se tengan cualquier decisión hasta informarnos las personas, ya que solo publican mapas de la noche a la mañana. Gracias.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Ángela Quiebras. I am a parent from Oak Grove School. Today I'm here since I am concerned with the transparency of the process for the election of the areas from the school district. As the parents were never informed of this process from the beginning. In these meetings, they never explained to us why they are making these divisions, and a lot of the parents are confused about this very important decision. As parents, we are asking that we get explained where are the funds for all of these coming from and why there's been a lack of communication. We ask for any decision to be put on hold until we can inform more people, since they've only made public the maps from one day to the other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dave Thompson.
Good evening, board, President Durkee, Superintendent. Welcome, by the way, Superintendent, to the district. My name is Dave Thompson. I'm the Program Director at Monument Impact. If you're asking Board Member Khan about a organization that does do community engagement, I'm happy to talk to you later. So first of all, thank you for listening to parents and others earlier in the process asking for more time and more engagement. We do appreciate that. And I also appreciate that the demographer has listened to the requests that have been made to add new maps. And it does make sense that given that the district is made up of, in terms of student population, made up of over 50% people of color, that at least two of the areas would be majority people of color. So I appreciate that we are getting in that direction. Much like the speakers previously stated, there is some concern about the community engagement process. So it has gotten better as time has gone on, and clearly now that school's in session, it's easier to communicate with parents. And given what your council has said, I understand that maybe the timeline is tight, but we have 3 weeks between now and the next hearing here in this venue, and I would encourage you to consider more opportunities to speak with families about this. One of the things that we did hear, and I know you just heard, is that parents were confused about this process. So even though there were 50 people that showed up at Meadow Homes or 40 people, they didn't fully understand what led to this process. And they didn't really have a way to think about the maps. And so the issue around like where a school should be located or whatever, that was a result of not understanding that, you know, that the voting population is what matters. So I would encourage you to consider engaging folks a little bit more.
Thank you very much.
One last, since I do have a few seconds. If you were to decide today, I clearly think that either the purple or pink maps would be the ones that we would recommend.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't have any more cards. Are there any other folks that want to comment before we close this public hearing? Okay, so with that, I will close the public hearing. And I thank everybody. Thank you all for coming, and thanks for your input, and keep thinking. So,
We need to come back to the board and have some discussion.
yeah. So I think, okay, all right. Any other comments or questions?
I would just say, and I think I can speak for the entire board, one confusion I want to clear up is the area map is just an area map for elections. We still represent every single school in this district, and we will still be trying to get resources and provide the best education for all of the schools in the district, not just the schools in our area. And I will take the blame for the purple A. And I was the one that had said I felt strongly that Mount Diablo High School needed to be in the Bay Point or the Area 1 area because of the fact we lost our high school in 1976, and for 30 years we've been convincing the Bay Point residents that their high school is Mount Diablo High School, and they will see, even though we'll all still represent it, they will see it as the loss of another high school. So that's my comments.
Any other?
I want to thank Mr. Furchaw for all of the work, and I was impressed by your knowledge of our school district over the time that you've been with us. You speak so precisely about the given areas in our district, and it's a credit to you. I'm wondering if you're even a resident of Mount Diablo School District.
I might be able to file for residency at this point.
Well, I just want to thank you very much, because the manner in which you speak about our different communities shows that you have researched the areas. And, you know, I've been in Pleasant Hill more than 40 years, and some people still think me as a newcomer. So I want to applaud you and thank you for your work.
If I could, Larry.
Sure, Ron, go ahead.
So what I wanted to just make sure and remind our communities is that this process has been ongoing for some time, and yet this board has really taken the due diligence to ensure that we're working with the concerns brought forward originally to stay within the framework of the California Voters' Rights Act, to really seek some structures that aren't really about these 5 individuals. It really is about creating an opportunity per the guidelines, even though it was brought forward by an outside group. That's okay. They're doing their due diligence. In the process now, of course, we're in a public hearing that's just concluded tonight. There is another public hearing scheduled. I just want to reassert that. The board may have looked at resolutions that are presented tonight, again, as part of that public hearing, and there are actually 2 resolutions. One resolution actually calls for the affirmation of certain trustee areas after, again, the next public hearing. The second resolution calls for the opportunities to say, here's the areas that will be actually in that election in 2020. And so again, the board is really examining those 2 items that do come together. What we anticipate is that based under the information from tonight, the information from the next public hearing, and we absolutely agree, getting more data out to our community so that everybody understands the process and their opportunity to come and give input, because the opportunity to provide public input is still ongoing. It's not that there's any decisions made tonight. We're really continuing that process to hear information. It could be very small, but that could be a telling point where there's still some decisions made. If there are any new adjustments to maps, then those maps will be republished again, even in our short window of process, because the board, by their logistical timeline, will need to again hold a public hearing at the first meeting in October and could push it to the second meeting in October before an actual decision is made to stay within our timelines of getting to the county board of elections, the final decision. So I just wanted to reassert and make sure people understood we are still open for input. There's opportunities on the website right now I know it's a little hard to navigate, but we're going to try taking some steps to make it easier and accessible so people can find it quickly. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think that's really helpful. And I'm thinking, maybe at the next public hearing, we start off with, again, explaining, the Voter Rights Act, and this is all very legalese stuff that's happening, and so that's why we're doing it. And so I think, to spend a little more time up front about that might be helpful too. But that is also on the website, explaining why, because obviously we're not the only school district that's gone through this, or you've seen city councils, there's a reason for it, so I think that could help a lot, so thank you.
Madam President, can I ask one more question? I did hear a question during the public hearing from, I think, our parent from Oak Grove Middle School. There were two questions that I heard that I'm not sure, I'm wondering if we could answer tonight, potentially. It's why it is that we moved forward in this process. I know that's a long answer, but maybe just briefly that it didn't come from us, the board. So why we're doing the process in the first place, and then also she asked where are the funds for this coming from? Is that something we may have an answer to tonight?
Well, and I'm going to try it, Larry, and you tell me if I'm really on point. Again, the California Voters' Rights Act came into law. It has been this long-standing law which a number of municipalities have either taken the stance to move forward on or to kind of wait for process to make this kind of big decision. For Mount Diablo Unified School District, it was actually brought forward through some litigation. There was a concern that we needed to move quicker rather than wait, and this is one of the concerns in responding to that issue. So we have taken the steps, and I say we, the broader school district, in responding to that raised concern. Some municipalities, when brought forward with that concern, have not done their due diligence. Some have and taken times and steps to make changes. So getting in alignment with the California Voters' Rights Act, there's nothing wrong with that. So it really is a process that a board could have done on their own, but now that it was brought forward, this board has taken those steps to say, let's get in alignment. As far as the costs in doing this, it really is coming from general funds. So when the district earns dollars from the state, it becomes part of the general funds. The cost to have this work done comes from those general funds. There's no designated additional dollars that come from the state or the federal government. So there are costs involved in having individuals do this work. There's costs involved which are normally part of holding elections, that are election costs as well. So it's part of the process of doing the business that we need to do to stay legal in this process and help the community. Larry, anything else?
No. No, it's very, very succinct, Dr. Martuz. I appreciate that. But Mr. Virgin and I do need to ask for some direction from the board, simply as a matter of time sequencing and time management. Tonight we've heard a lot about 6 maps, and we've heard a lot about the fact that the red, green, and blue are really not acceptable or not really going on for further discussion. So one of the things you can do tonight is give us direction to say, let's eliminate some of these maps so the next public hearing we can focus in on what we think, what might be the maps that you might adopt. That's one item. The other item is, if there's some change, or if the board would want to see a different election sequencing that is different from what's on the map now, in the lower left corner, you should indicate that to us, because that, as well as the map and the possible election sequencing, is supposed to be published 7 days in advance of any public hearing. So you have until October 7th to publish a new scenario or a new election sequencing or an alternative. I'm not saying you have to eliminate anyone, you just have to give us an alternative, or if you want us to come up with possible alternatives, we can do that. So that's what we're asking for. If the board can do that, fine. If not, we'll proceed with what we have. But that would then almost invariably require you to have another hearing on October 28th.
I think what the learning for me, and the interesting highlight, I think, is this idea that each trustee area should have one of our comprehensive high schools in it. And you know, I think what has been a challenge is helping people understand that this is not about attendance areas or feeder patterns or any of that. It's really truly about elections. But you know, the reality is, when someone gets elected, they're in theory representing that they're going to get elected by that group. So, but we heard that not just from Ms. Mason, but we heard it from other people. So it seemed to be important enough to try to juggle the line a little bit to accomplish that, and just somehow, you know, whether it's significant or not, it might just make people feel better. And so, you know, I'm hearing different things tonight, so it's just making me, you know, wondering if, I mean, I guess right now I thought the purple A sort of addressed most of the concerns we're hearing about the Monument Corridor. You know, maybe there's still some tweaking. I feel like we could tweak, and there's always going to still be some challenge. So I don't know, but I think just to stress, this is really not about, you know, the point about the resources is still a little confusing to me. I mean, the resources are the resources. It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to care what trustee area someone lives in, you know. So Mount Diablo, I think, does a great job of accessing resources across the school district. So, you know, I don't know. I think we might be creating problems that don't need to exist, but I'm also been saying from day one, there's some potential unintended consequences. You know, I worry about this because I'm here because I have a career in education, and I'm very passionate about Mount Diablo Unified in particular. I'm very passionate about all of our students across our district. You know, of course, I worked, you know, on the Monument Corridor, worked in Concord, so I have a special affinity for that part of our community, but, you know, we serve people across the whole district, so, and I think that's true for everybody up here. And so I worry about the unintended consequence that a board member, whoever it is, has to be, you know, be thinking about. I mean, it's just like what's happening in Washington, D.C. It's like, you gotta get elected. You can't do anything if you don't get elected, and so, you know, I just worry about some of the things that were not intended by the law that this is going to force to happen. So anyway, but you know, trying to stick with Dr. Ryan said, the spirit of the law is make sure folks have a voice and they're represented, and that's critically important here. So I guess I would just say, you know, if we get focused on certain things, we just have to ask ourselves, you know, is it a make it or break it kind of thing? You know, are we close? I don't know. So I'm just babbling about it, but I worry about it a lot, honestly. But I think, as Dr. Marsh said, you know, we have no choice. We're moving forward. We have a timeline, which we don't have a choice on either. So,
So do we want to consider dropping any of the maps?
Or withdrawing, I shouldn't say dropping.
Or basically just giving us direction to bring back to you.
Yeah, I guess I would
want to proceed.
Maybe
it helps because it helps people focus. I think tonight, as you saw from a lot of the comments that we got online at the meetings, they were focusing in red, blue, and green, and I think it's important to move on because I don't think those are going to be
right. So let me just throw this out. One option would see pink, purple, and purple A as three to draw people's attention to. And again, it doesn't mean the final is going to be one of those. It might still be some tweaking, but to have people focus in on those.
Madam President, can I make a motion?
No,
We don't need to move for that?
I could just
to
keep
drop?
that with more See, because this is like setting an agenda, you can kind of give us a consensus, and we'll bring it back to you based on the comments we've heard tonight. And based on the comments that we've been dealing with, Larry and I, at all the public meetings that we've had, and the input we received back from you.
So I guess what I would say, just a statement then, is that I feel like if we do remove the red, green, and blue maps from the website and from consideration, then that will help us to focus in to make sure that we get feedback on what people think about the differences between purple, purple A, and pink, because we do still have a few weeks to get feedback on those three.
I'm just gonna say it one more time, that I think this issue about the importance of having a high school in every area is one to really think carefully about. I'm not advocating one way or the other, because, you know, like if you wanna, we tweaked to get to that because it seemed important, but then certain other things are gonna get lost. So other things are gonna change. Every time you move, something changes. And so I just would ask people to really think about that. Should that really be a driving factor? Just a question, not a statement. So I don't know how the board might want to respond to that now. If you also kind of feel strongly still that should be a factor, you could give that direction.
So my statement would be that I agree with the idea of looking at pink, purple, and purple A, removing the other ones from consideration. In light of that, since those are relatively new ones, I would strongly advocate for this board making their final decision for us to maximize the timeline that we do have, which would be to have a hearing on October 14th, but then make a final decision on October 28th to maximize the opportunity for community input.
I would agree.
That certainly wasn't the province of Dr. Martinez to schedule it. So, and we have our direction, and we just want to make sure we're going forward without, you know, getting too far ahead of too far out on our skis.
Right.
And then,
we appreciate that input. It helps us focus too.
And then the other part, and I recognize that my voice has been different than some of my board members on this issue, but I think frankly it was kind of reiterated for me this evening, hearing from the community, because I think this is an opportunity to have a more diverse board that is reflective of our community. And I look at who I've had the pleasure of serving with over the last 7 years, and every board member I've served with has not necessarily reflected, and certainly I myself do not reflect, all of the diversity within our community. And I think that will make us a better board and a better district. And I do think there are certainly challenges towards representation, but I think we need to have a recognition that we do have a large and growing immigrant population that needs to be represented in a way that they have not been represented to date on this board.
Agreed. Okay. Well, thank you.
And one last question is, do you want us to bring back different election sequencing scenarios as alternatives on those maps? Larry, how would we, we publish the maps and have the sequence in the lower left-hand corner. Is there a way we would do another legend, or maybe just do that separately? How would you suggest that?
Either do one scenario and have ors, and just that would be 2020 or 22, kind of leave that ambiguous, or we could provide different options. We could have pink A and B, and just the difference would be the sequencing. I love the A's and B's. I
think my suggestion would be to just pink, purple, and purple A, and maybe put alternatives in the 20 or 22 on.
My only request would be I would like to understand what the options are from a election sequencing standpoint. How you name them, I would completely defer. I'm colorblind, so I'm not sure that it but I do think that we should look at our options and understand what they are.
Would that be published on the maps, or would we do something differently? What do you think, Larry?
do a separate sequencing document that would lay out the different options under
Okay.
the three, now that we're down to three
Which
scenarios.
is, which is why, I did include with the additional resolution on sequencing, so we're set up to start with that, and we'll try and come up with some different scenarios.
Mhm.
And I'll publish those to the website.
Just of my own personal belief is that I strongly feel like, and I think we heard it from our community, I think I've heard it from my fellow board members, that there is a monument corridor based district, and I strongly believe that district should be up for election in 2020. And then the other part is that Pittsburgh Bay Point will continue, would be a second majority minority district, and since that already has a representative from that community, I would think that that would be 2022 when that seat would come up. Those are my two strong beliefs on this.
And that's kind of consistent with the folks I've talked with in the community about the same approach. And what the question becomes for the board is, okay, Area 3, we pretty clear consensus throughout the community that it's going to be up in 2020.
Yeah. Yes.
What's the second one? And that's for you all to answer.
So in that case, the reasoning to consider other options is, I'm confused about, because it seems to me that either we choose the two areas that are open, that have no trustee currently, so that would be areas 3 and 5, which is what the maps currently say.
Right.
So that would just be what we do. The only reason to go with, to do something different than that I can think of according to the Voting Rights Act would be if we wanted the two majority-minority areas to go first, which would not be aligned with what Brian just said. It would be areas 1 and 3. That's the only scenario I can think of according to the Voting Rights Act to consider, other than making sure that every one of the 5 areas has a representative. Is there another scenario that you have in mind, Trustee Lawrence?
I would like to, because I think there are political implications to it, and so I would like to hear from our attorneys as to what those are. I don't know what those would be, but I do believe it's within the purview of the board to decide.
Other board members, do you have?
I would be curious on what Larry comes up with all the different scenarios, because apparently he likes playing with these numbers and.
Well, the sequence doesn't.
That's a political decision.
That's a political decision.
Except-
It's not a numbers
Except for the
decision.
California Voting
Yeah.
Rights Act.
I do have one comment. When, I have to think about how I'm going to say this. So, there are I'll just use Purple A as an example. Trustee area 1, which is yellow, is a minority, and trustee area 3 is a minority. Is that correct?
Yep.
So if we choose 3 and 5, for example, to be elected in 2020, that means that you would have one minority and one different area to be elected in that sequence, and then in 2022 there would be 2 areas and one minority. I guess, is there an advantage to having the minority districts on the ballot at the same time, or is that a big question mark, an unknown?
I don't think it's necessarily an advantage for them to be on the ballot at the same time, because they would be in different
Yeah.
areas.
Right.
We're talking about different voters in different areas.
But are they able to, engage one another more, perhaps, or
Possibly. I
something?
think the only advantage you might have from a political standpoint in having the majority areas on the 2020 ballot is that it's a higher turnout election. That would be the only reason, but I think the law says that in choosing which areas should be up for election, you should give preference to those areas that are in the spirit of the California Voting Rights Act. But at the same time, you can also have some consideration of incumbency. So I think that's why
The statute accounts for both.
So that's why we've talked about having one of those 2 areas up in 2020 and the other in 2022.
And I'll speak for Mr. Rafferty. there's back there. He also, and he can speak for himself, I guess, but I will say, in my conversations with him, he's recognized exactly what Brian has recognized concerning Mrs. Mason's, I use the word popularity, but I use it advisedly. Your support. in the
My
area.
lifetime residency, maybe?
Yeah, no, you're very tied to your community, and you know we're in a process of changing over. Remember this: you're doing 2 and then 3 in 2022, and for the comfort of some of the folks who've made comments, 2 years from now we'll be back doing this again to true up what we think the population reflects, because we're 9 years. We're actually using 9-year-old data at this point, but that's all we have. So, you know, my comment to the board would be, I think there's enough play in the joints to say you can do this transition by one majority minority influence district and one not. But that's up to you.
Matt, I just want to interrupt and thank our translator who's on her way out the door. She has done an excellent
Yes.
job this evening, so it was amazing.
So I guess I'm concerned about trying to keep things clear for the public, because we're going to be asking for more input on these 3 maps. If we're asking them about the difference between purple, purple A, and pink, and we introduce another level of confusion in terms of asking them for their input on the order of elections and all the different possibilities that exist, that could be a lot of options. So I feel like we should be clear about why we're asking for that. Are we asking for it because we want to adhere to the Voting Rights Act and make sure that both minority majority areas go first? Or are we just trying to make sure that all 5 areas each have a representative? Or is there something else that, fellow board members, you are looking for in this process that would cause us to try to add more complexity to the decision?
I would simply return to, according to the Civil Rights Voting Act, that the majority minority district that does not have a representative should, and that one that currently does have a representative would wait till 2022, because that is when that term expires, and beyond that it is a board political decision.
So I'm asking a board political question of my fellow board members. Do you think that's something that we should be considering, when we could keep it simple and say, and go with what Mr. Lawrence is saying here? We could say that we all, it sounds like we're all in agreement that Area 3 should be up in 2020 as first, right? And if we agree that Area 1 clearly has an incumbent until 2022, so should not be considered, then it seems to me a very clear and simple decision for us to say that the 2 areas that have no trustee should be the ones up for election in 2020, so that every area has a representative.
I think all we're saying is we don't have to make that decision till our next meeting.
There might be some other options.
Yeah, that's all.
what I'm hearing, because
Yeah.
honestly, so give them an opportunity to see what's, might be some other options. Right? Yeah.
So then we'll get those options, but then we would need to communicate those out clearly to the public for their input on all the various options.
Right.
So are
Because
we
the next
asking
meeting's
for all?
another public hearing, correct?
So we're asking for all possible options except for the one.
No, I don't think we're asking for all possible options, but I think this is largely a board decision within the parameters of the California Voting Rights Act.
Right, so which options are we requesting? I just want to be clear with the public about what it is that we're going to be asking for input from them on.
So
That's
I think
fine.
the difficulty is it has to be noticed on October 7th, and we don't have another meeting by October 7th to provide input.
Which is partly, I also think that we should look at input on the maps that we currently, we're going to remove some, we're putting some on, and part of why I think we should look at October 28th is when we make our final decision to maximize our time.
Did you want to say something else?
think that there have been 3 that agreed that there should be all options noticed on October 7th for the sequence, election sequence.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
We're down to 3 maps, and 3 board members have indicated support for all types of sequencing.
Okay.
Is that correct?
But I think within the parameter that we,
Right.
I have a clear direction
Right.
from the board that Area 3 is gonna be up in 2020.
Right.
period.
Yes.
And then we'll work from there.
Yeah.
Okay? Not that you made that decision, but I have a pretty clear read on it.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Okay. Thank you for that. And we'll moving on to 17.2, another public hearing regarding sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials for 2019-2020 school year. This is on for action. So we open public hearing. Okay, we don't have any hearing public to hear, then we'll close the public hearing. Okay, that's all we needed. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to 17.3, approval of the cafeteria fund, Fund 13, 2018-19.
Don't we have to adopt that resolution?
Which one?
It says adopt at the bottom.
The last one. I thought it was just.
And does it come back on consent next meeting?
No,
Because
this
it's-
is, we won't meet the deadline. The 8th week is on October 10th, which is why we're doing it early.
So we have to adopt it tonight.
It's agenda.
17.2 says
It's an
action.
action item, that's fine, so you can
The
move
action
forward.
is a public hearing, okay.
So I move that we adopt the resolution as presented.
I'll second that.
So just to be clear, it only says it's a public hearing, it doesn't say to adopt.
At the bottom it
At
does.
the bottom, it says adopt. There's a recommendation for public hearing and adoption.
17.2.
And adopt.
Oh, we're gonna adopt. Okay, got it. All right, thank you. All right, we have a first and a second. We'll go, right, we have a second. We'll go to the vote. My screen is, And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Okay, now we're on 17.3, approval of the cafeteria fund, Fund 13, 2018-19 unaudited actuals financial report.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the cafeteria fund, Fund 13, 2018-19 unaudited actual financial report.
Second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second, and we'll go to the vote.
Do we have any discussion?
Sure.
Just noticing the, for 2018-19, our expenditures were greater than our revenues. Could we have an explanation as to why that happened?
We're feeding children.
Yes, we'll have Dominic,
We can
Hockey,
use
Director of Food Service,
balance.
This is frequently a standard process here, as we
Yeah.
understand, but go ahead, Dominic.
Thank you,
Briefly.
Amy.
Thank you.
So the reason in 2018-19 that we had a negative ending, or excuse me, negative for that year is because we bought 3 of the food delivery trucks. So when we move money in from the fund balance into the budget, usually that will exceed what usually our net profit is. So that happened this year, it's gonna happen, last year it'll happen again this year too, hopefully, once we present the expenditures that we're gonna have for the warehouse. So just to let you know also is that we are in a very healthy financial position as far as Fund 13. And we're actually working with the state because we have been put on almost a spending plan more than once since I've been here, which is year 3. I've been dealing with the state, making sure that we're showing we're expensing our fund balance down because we're holding on to too much money. So we're only allowed to hold on to 3 months operating expenses.
Thank you, very helpful.
Spending. Keep spending.
And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Uh, 17.4, item for amendment, modifying May 2015 license agreement for base camp and staging area with Pacific Gas and Electric. This is on for action.
I make a motion to approve the amendment to PG&E license agreement for emergency school site use.
Second. Okay, we have a first and a second. We'll go to the vote unless there's any other.
Madam President, if I might make one comment before you vote. If you'll notice on this amendment, there's no provision for payment of a license fee. The original license fee has no payment. I discussed it with Mr. Jackson, and we're making a recommendation that there be no license fee charged to PG in this particular case, simply because they will be on our school sites providing crucial services. So we tend to make the recommendation not to make any required charge. I just want to make that clear so you knew that why it's blank.
Appreciate that.
I just have a question. This may not apply to the state camp and staging area concern, but with the declaring of certain counties and areas impacted by the fire, and they're going to shut off the power in those areas.
Yeah, I'm one of those areas where I live.
Okay,
So,
right.
I'm not looking forward to it.
The map that I saw on the television last night included quite a bit of Contra Costa County through the La Marinda area, and it could include part of Briones, which is very near to Pleasant Hill Elementary School. So will we, do we know when they make decisions to reduce the power, what our emergency plans are? Because, you know, they're saying it would be from 2 to 3 days. If they shut off the power, for example, in the Lafayette Briones area, which might include Pleasant Hill Elementary School, do we have a plan to transport what's in the freezers at Pleasant Hill Elementary School to another site? Those kinds of plans. So I'm just bringing those up.
So again, as the particular issue has come forward, Director of Maintenance Richard Jackson and I have been talking about some of the possibilities that could occur. Again, it's a potential of a rolling blackout, and depending on what PG&E does, there are plans, of course, when we have responses to emergency areas that we have in place. We're seeking clarification from them of some specific process, if they actually have a schedule or if it's just be prepared, because we're always going to be prepared, but it's better if we actually know if something is actually occurring with some heads up. But depending on winds and process that happens out there, it's a matter of being ready all the time.
Sorry for that.
And that passes 5-0-0.
Bird walk. It's real.
Now, there's a red flag tonight, so everybody should be prepared. I'm packed up and ready to go. So.
17.5, purchase of modular building to support the Cambridge Family Literacy and Adult Education Center using piggyback contract with Willows Unified School District legal number 00060750006, public contract code PCC 20118.
Yeah.
We're good for the short version.
Madam President, I move that the board approve item 17.5.
I'll second that.
I just have a question. This design is exactly like the one that we did. Just, okay, because that was specially designed, I know. So, okay, perfect. Okay, thank you for this. All right, we're ready for vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you.
Victoria. Thank you.
So we have 2 agenda items left and also a public comment, number 18. I did want to discuss the next agenda item. Should we have an extension of time until 10:45? I would move that we extend the meeting adjournment time till 10:45.
Second.
First and a second. Do you have that?
I got it for the second. So Linda and.
17.8, right? Can we just do a voice vote on that? We can.
No, I got it.
Oh, you got it, okay.
Yeah, I just, and move forward. Wait. Meeting extension. Okay, good. So it's Linda.
You'll appreciate it.
Okay.
I did.
11:30?
You swayed my vote by 10:45.
Swayed your vote, but couldn't get a second, huh?
Okay, that passes 5-0-0-0, thank you. Okay, we'll go back to 17.6, is that where we are? Yeah. Award of contract to Quality Sound for fire alarm control panel replacement and associated work at the maintenance and operations facility to support the central services complex. You're on.
Well,
We're at a motion.
Do you want me to make the motion
Sure.
first?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll move that we award the contract to Quality Sound for fire alarm control panel replacement and associated work at it's cut off, whatever the rest of that says. The headline there doesn't show up.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. On further discussion?
So I appreciate the responses that I received to my questions. My new question is, has the value of the central services complex buildings and their contents been evaluated to determine the probable loss for each building?
And I'm going to have Director of Maintenance, Richard Jackson, come on up. We may or may not have an answer to your question at this point in time. That's something.
Good evening.
I know,
That
I
particular
threw one
question,
at
we
you.
do not have a current answer for, but we are evaluating the actual cost for each one of those facilities to come up with an actual number for those at this current time.
So I appreciate the honest answer because in the work that my husband and I do, you evaluate the probable loss, the structure and its contents, and then the third factor is typically business loss interruption. So for example, if the bus barn were to burn down, Mount Diablo would be able to outsource, rent buses, or if the the repair station were to burn down, we would go to an outside mechanic somewhere to get. So in my naive view, all of the services that are provided by the Central Services Complex do not necessarily meet the highest standard for business interruption. So primarily it's the loss of a building and the loss of the contents of the building. And but we recognize that complex services the entire district. So for me, it's a high priority in many respects. So I had asked the question whether this system is being recommended is an accessible system, meaning is it an intelligent system?
Yes.
Yes, it is. I brought a code book that has information about it from 2009. There's probably a newer one that provides all the information. So you're telling me that all of the devices at the complex will be addressable by this particular panel, or will they be like a light switch, kind of on or off?
The plan is to be addressable by the panel, current DSU3 that we're looking at installation.
So do we have to change out the detectors in the rest of the buildings in order to make the current panel, which may not be addressable,
In some
that
buildings,
process?
I believe we will have to do that. In some buildings, we will have to do that.
Okay, so I could have had this question answered if I could have talked to you on Friday. Because if it's the difference is a rotary phone and a smartphone and I wanted to assure that our district was forward thinking in having the latest technology, because you could have a detector go off in the far corner of the large warehouse, and the only thing that would be reported under the conventional system would be that a detector went off, and somebody would have to go out there and try and figure out which detector it was, whether it was a fire or a faulty alarm or a dirty detector. Whereas the addressable one will tell you where it is and what the probable cause is. And that's critical for a high value facility. So
Yes.
I appreciate that information. And then, so that means I'm going to have to probably vote yes on this. I do want to share.
You got it.
Okay. But I'll check up on it. That I asked a question about the fire watch, and according to my understanding regarding the International Fire Code, which applies for all state codes, the person doing the fire watch while any time the panel is down or we're making changes in the panel, that individual can only perform night watch duties. They cannot do the emergency call center duty. So I've shared the document with Dr. Martinez, and I hope that you'll look at it, because it is very critical. That's why we've had so many apartment complex fires throughout the Bay Area when they're in course of construction, because they didn't have the right kind of fire watches to prevent those losses. And whether the building is manned or unmanned, the fire watch is important. And I can see you rolling your eyes over here, but it makes a difference. Okay.
Thank you.
Ready to vote? Thank you for your time, and maybe we can talk next time sooner.
That passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mayo, for sharing your expertise.
Okay, 17.7, approve Sourcewell contract number 091918-TMK to purchase refrigeration and freezer units for new food and nutrition services warehouse. Contract awarded Trimark Strategies and Trimark Economy in Sacramento, California as a local regional equipment dealer.
Madam President, I move that we approve item 17.7 to approve the Sourcewell contract to purchase refrigeration and freezer units.
Second.
I don't have any questions about these, because you could put sprinklers in these units. They're pendant drop sprinklers.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Okay, we'll go to vote. It's getting late.
Okay, that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. That's good, yeah. So we've already done our,
You
look
have
at, we had a
18?
minute.
Do
Oh,
you
we have
have
18.
one
Oh,
more?
I'm sorry,
No,
yeah. I'm sorry, you're right. I'm sorry. 18. No one wanted to hang around, I guess, right? Okay, we are going to move that on the agenda. That was an oversight and mistake, so
I'll make it much earlier. Yes, we do have documents to sign, so. All right, the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everybody, very much.